I've been muted this whole time. I've been muted. Okay. Y'all hear me now? Somebody in the chat confirm that you can hear me. Just been sitting here talking to myself. I'm gonna mute the typing for a second. I don't know, man. I don't see where. So my computer crashed right before. I had like everything set up. You know, you got to have the stream scheduled. You got to do all this stuff, set it up, blah blah blah. Had it all set up, and then I come back and my computer has crashed. It just not excuse me, not my computer. Firefox crashed. So I had all the tabs open and things of that nature, and Firefox just closed. And I had a little message saying, "Do you want us to send this diagnostic report?" No, I don't want you to send it. That's not going to help me. So no, I didn't have him send the report. But then I had to reopen everything, relog into everything, blah, 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 blah. So that's where we are right now, at the tail end of some technical difficulties. So I really appreciate y'all's patience. Our guest is here. Okay, cool. Awesome. I'm still just trying to figure out if we're live on IG because StreamYard says we are. Usually I have a way to see if we are live or not. And again, because that window closed and I'm not sure where it went.
We're live on IG. I can see it, the little tab up top. It says we are.
Sweet. Okay. Is there a way for you to open that on your phone and just pay attention to the comments? Because usually I'm able to look at that and I have no way of seeing those comments now. And I'm kind of scared to, see, that's going to ask me to create a new live, which I don't want to do. So is there a way for you to do that, Ray? Or I just put my phone on the charger.
Taking on it right now.
I'll do it. Oh. All right. Trying to close out all windows that we don't need, so I don't have any more issues with this. Let's get back to StreamYard.
Oh, okay. That might not be right from what Kimmy said. So it says it is on the little tab here on Insta, but it might not be.
On Insta? Did you go to Instagram to check if we're live?
No, the StreamYard thing that shows Instagram.
No, yeah. No, I saw that. I was asking if you. Let me get my phone. Let me just.
Okay. Got it. Okay, she just explained it to me.
Okay. Yep. So we're not live on Instagram. So as I suspected, and I'm a little bit worried about closing it and restarting it. I don't really want to do all that. So and that kind of the problem is that really sucks because that's where a lot of folks watch the live stream from is from Instagram, and I'm just not sure if there is a way to resolve this. I just put the stream key in. Let me see if I can do this. No, there's not. I don't see a way to do that. You're already live. If you need to change the stream key, remove this destination from the stream, then re-add it. Let's try. Thank you for bearing with us, y'all. I appreciate this. Okay, I'm gonna see. I think we can do it if I just redo it like that. Ooh, nice. Oh, so wasn't I live? So oops. I also have this thing. If anybody knows, like, you know how your keyboard has like certain shortcuts or whatever, like you can you hit this button and it does this thing automatically or whatever. For some reason, mine rewired and changed my home key and my end key to something else entirely. And I don't know how to fix it. So now the two keys that I use most often do not work properly. So
it's still messed up.
Yeah, it's still messed up. I tried restarting my computer and everything. No luck. No idea why. I tried Googling it, but it seems like I don't even know how to word it to Google. I don't even know. Legal protections on Wednesday Night Live with Boss Attorney Bray. Okay, let's do that. How's everybody doing? Where are y'all joining us from? Like, who's here? Who's live? And again, it kind of sucks because a lot of folks join us from Instagram, but I'm getting there. But for those who are here live right now, if you can hear my voice, where are you guys joining from? What location? Where are we at? I know I'm in. I'll get there as soon as we intro it. But I would love to know where y'all are joining us from.
Yes. Let's see. All right.
Okay, stream. Can you save changes? I think we might have it. And then I think I would just need to go live. Don't do that. Oh, I got panicked. Okay.
ATL.
Okay, I think we got it, y'all. Oh, I figured it out. I figured it out. Here we are. Whew, I'm not gonna keep y'all too long. Usually we would give folks on Instagram a few minutes to come in, a few minutes for notifications to go out, things of that nature. But I'm not gonna do that because we've been holding y'all long enough, and y'all been waiting patiently, and I deeply appreciate that more than I can express right now. If y'all only knew, I don't know, Ray. So you were at work when I was sort of downloading into our Discord, our group chat or whatever. But I don't know what's happening. I slept for 12 hours when I didn't mean to, which there is a such thing as too much sleep. Call
Oh
myself
yeah,
look. I call
definitely.
myself being a responsible adult, right? So I went to bed early, which is early for me. So after you and I spoke, right, since I hadn't been to sleep since Sunday, so I was like, you know what, I'll go to sleep and then wake up early and then finish whatever I need to do in the morning, right before the stream. Cool. This is why I don't like doing that. This is why I'm a night owl and I try to do things the night before. You're about to hear, right? So I go to bed, pretty much go to sleep, wake a couple times throughout the night. I wake up around 8 a.m. and I am so sleepy. If I feel like I have been drugged, like that's how sleepy I am. I could not keep my eyes open. I couldn't get out the bed, nothing. And I didn't set an alarm because I knew my body would wake me up after 8 hours. And that was okay, all that, right? I was so sleepy, I couldn't get out of bed. Took my ADHD meds, didn't help. It was like I didn't even take them to the point where I was like, did I take them already? But I looked and I was like, yep, no, I took them. I don't know what's going on. Universe is mad at me. I did something. I apologize to the universe. I gotta have some sessions. I'm gonna try to talk to my ancestors after this because I don't know what is going on. But that's what's happening with me right now. So I appreciate y'all patience. I appreciate y'all's patience, and I appreciate y'all being here. And I'm really grateful for the team that we have with Black and Sick. My man Ray, but also Kimmy, who's the stream manager. We call her our stage manager, right? Um, and so I really appreciate y'all for coming through because Kimmy was like, "Hey, do you need a body double? Like, let's figure this out. Like, because I was stuck on what's happening. Like, why is my brain short circuiting? Why am I so sleep? Like, I couldn't figure out the why, and like me being who I am, that was really bothering me. She's like, "There's not always a reason. We'll figure it out. You have a team. Let's knock this out and get it done." And I was like, you know what? You're right. So I really appreciate Kimmy for coming through
All
in that
right,
way
Kimmy. All right,
and
Kimmy, for the alley
uplifting
oop.
the group. I definitely appreciate it. All right. So Ray, let's get into it.
Indeed.
First of all, let me pull up because I want to bring our guest on as soon as possible. So let's just go ahead and open up the show. Actually, let's do that first. Let's bring our guest on first, and then we'll do our intros all together. Does that work?
Nice.
All right,
I can't
let's
wait to
get
meet
us
her.
on. All right, you ready? You ready, boss? All right, bet. There we go.
Hello, hello.
All
Hello.
right. So we're here. So let's get into these intros real quick. Um, First of all, what up, y'all? I'm Small. Small's here. My pronouns are she, her. I'm coming to you from Chumash and Tongva land, otherwise known as Southern California or Los Angeles, whatever. And thank you. Thank you for joining us here at the intersection of Black and Sick, where we discuss all things at the intersection of culture and faith. We discuss things, explore different topics, anything that has to do with culture and faith. And so, welcome back to the intersection. We appreciate you being here. And I'm going to let my co host, Ray, introduce himself to you.
So it's call. I'm Ray. My pronouns are he, him. Presently coming from Ute Mountain Ute or Northern Arapahoe or Colorado Springs. And I noticed someone mentioned earlier that they are from Texas. So am I, but here via work. And let's go ahead and get
Indeed.
our guest introduction.
So, guest, can you introduce yourself to the people? Although I'm pretty sure a lot of people here already know who you are. Can you introduce yourself to the people?
Yes, I'm Boss Attorney Bree. I am in Northern California. I have my own channel here on YouTube where we talk about legal news and really whatever I feel like talking about sometimes. And I'm super excited to be here because Smalls has been supporting my channel from the beginning. So I'm ready to get right into whatever we have to talk about today.
Indeed, indeed. And we are going to be talking about a number of things, just kind of like legal protections, legal recourse, black hair. And you might be like, how do all those things connect? We will tell you in just a second. But first of all, Bree, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I know when we first started the project and I was telling you about it. Well, first, let me go back because I remember when you first started your channel and I was like, oh, another black woman. Amazing. Like a new creator, right? So I got really excited and I immediately started watching. And then you were like, oh, I got to get my viewing hours up. And I was like, bet, say less, right? And so like I added all your stuff to the stream. I mean, to my playlist, and I was just like playing it around the clock, right? I would go to bed and be like, play, we're gonna get these viewing hours up, right? That's just how I am, and that's how the team here is at Black and Sikh. So we are happy that you are joining us. We're excited. I kind of thought like maybe you was a little too famous for us. That's why like I didn't say anything at first. So when you were like, hey, like can we do a live? I was like, hell yeah, we could do a live. You gonna come on our channel, our little channel? Hell yeah, let's do that. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful.
No problem. You come on my channel when we do the members live stream. So I'm like, I always want to support, help people grow because people have to help me grow. So here I am. And if you need me any other time, let me know. Sorry about being late.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. We first of all, this will start at 5, and then like immediately, I knew pretty soon. I was like, we need to push this back, like because again, Ray and I are both like this, but we're like we'd rather do it right than to like like half-ass it or like not do it. So we really wanted to do it right. So we were like, let's push it back. Let's get our lives together. And then we know you usually stream later, so we figured that would probably be okay with you. So yeah, no worries. We're good. I'm glad we're all here. And again, so we got Ray, we got myself, we got boss attorney Bree here, and then again, our stage manager is Kimmy. Kimmy also happens to be the paralegal for boss attorney Bree, which is pretty cool. Kimmy's like the MVP, right? Pulling all the strings and levies behind the scenes. You know, like if you ever go to a stage play, there's people behind the scenes doing stuff, doing the curtains and cueing people and being like, "You're on next." That's Kimmy right there, right? Like I can just say something and she'll be like, "Boop," and it'll pop up, and I'm like, "How did you know that I was about to need?" That's Kimmy. So you can't see her, but she is back there behind, back here, backstage, helping us out a great deal, and we are grateful for that.
And Smalls, before we jump into it, I have a little button that says stream this to your audience. Do you want me to try to stream it to my channel so we
please do. Yeah, I thought I thought that was that was definitely the plan. Let's get that. Let's make that happen. Do you need anything from me to do that?
No, it just wants me to like make a title for it. So I'll just copy your title and get it going here in a minute. So I'll just mute myself and you can go about.
Perfect. Yep, I made sure we had those settings enabled already, and Kimmy reminded us this morning. So yeah, that'd be perfect. Let's look through some of these comments. Well, we got Deeks here, Deacon Fatal, appreciate it. Another member and moderator of Boss Attorney Bree's channel. So always good to see Deek. Deek's been in school. Deek has been on the grind. So I really appreciate you being here. Deacon Fatal. And then yeah, okay. So let's get started. So let's see. First of all, Ray, how was your day? How for those of y'all don't know, because we're about to connect the dots and how this all connects together with black hair, SIKHI, legal protections. We're going to connect those dots for you in a minute. But Ray is somebody who has some, well, let's say insider knowledge, some firsthand experience when it comes to SIKHI and legal protections and black hair. And if anybody has knowledge about today's topic, it's definitely Ray. So how was your day?
So I'm going to second what Deke said, and I'm tired too. It's been a rough, long day, and I was fortunate enough to find out that I have a 4-day weekend, and I need it because it's been a pretty rough day. But I made sure when I got in, because I was really excited about today's live, so I was like, all right, I saved my caffeine intake for right before the show. So yeah, got a big cup of coffee and I'm ready to go. So it's been rough, but we're gonna make it better. We're gonna end on a good note.
Amen to that. Amen. Speaking of that, me saying amen, I just want folks to know. So we put out, because we always want feedback. Again, this is like a community endeavor, right? This is not just Ray and I back here doing things. There's a number of people making this whole project work. And I just want to say we put out this thing to get feedback about the content, from the community, so forth and so on. And somebody was saying about me saying amen, right? That's like more of like a Christian thing or like an Abrahamic faith thing. And so maybe we shouldn't do that as much, or, maybe I think they were assuming that it's like a holdover or a leftover from me being Christian. And I just like forgot, that's not the case. Like I am aware that it's more closely associated with like Christianity, but I still use it, and it's intentional. Like I didn't forget that, like, you know what I mean? Like I still use it because it makes sense. I use it when I'm talking about not religious things. It's just kind of a thing. So I just want to say that. Yeah, amen and ashe. I used to say ashe too. Sometimes we still do. So yeah, it just depends on the context and what we're doing. It's not that deep, but yeah. All right. So for those who don't know, those who are just joining us for the first time, tell you a little bit about Black and Sikh. It's a project, and we call it a multimedia project for several reasons. There's a number of things we do. Initially, we were doing a video podcast, which we'll tell you about that in a bit, maybe at the end of the stream, because we will be shifting gears away from doing the video podcast, but for very good reason. And so essentially, this is an advocacy project, a multimedia advocacy project, but it's also a community, right? It's a community of not just Black Sikhs, not just Sikhs really, but people who understand and appreciate, what we're trying to do. And so we really are operating under or with the knowledge that none of us are free until all of us are, right? And so here at Black and Sikh, we sort of embrace and advocate for all Sikhs, not just Black Sikhs, not just Punjabi Sikhs, not just non-Punjabi Sikhs, but all Sikhs and all people in general, because we do understand that our liberation is tied, is connected together. None of us is free until all of us is free. So even if you hate us, we still gonna be fighting for your rights. We still gonna be fighting for your freedom, because we know that it's all connected. So yeah, anything you wanted to add to that, Ray?
Most definitely, yeah. I just want to add to that not even honestly just Sikhs for the most part, because there's been multiple times we've had conversations in general as it relates to anyone, any sorts of injustice. So where we can, we do like to step in as representatives that are Black and Sikh, and try to go ahead and speak on or try to assist with any types of injustice. So yeah, we try to have our hands all up in a little bit of all of that, or at least knowledgeable about what's going on.
Yeah, and so you'll see that with some of the announcements that we have today, some of the things that we're going to get into in terms of current events. We're going to try to run right through them so that we can get to the topic, right, to why Bree is here. But there are a number of things that we want to just kind of touch on and address by way of current events and things that are happening right now. Let me see if I can get to that screen. Make sure I have it. Okay, so for those who don't know, let's start with, we're just going to start right at the top. So Kimmy, if you're, I'm looking at the, that's my fault. I'm looking at the outline, Kimmy, so I'm just starting with number 1 from our current events, just so you know where I'm at. And that is the protest, the immolation protest, Ray. I'm sure you heard about this. I think he's in the Air Force. Am I right about that or wrong about that, Ray? Do you remember? I don't know. I think he's in the Air Force, but he's in active duty, and he, in a matter of protest, set himself on fire. We're not going to play like the actual clip of him doing that, but it is important to address, because with everything that's happening with Palestine right now, with them still fighting for their freedom over there, everything happening with Congo, Tigray, Sudan, it is important that we call attention to these things and sort of bring awareness to it. And so for those who don't know, there was an active duty, I believe, Air Forceman who set himself on fire in an act of protest. He said he no longer wanted to be complicit in genocide, and said free Palestine as he did it. And so we're not going to talk too much on it right now, but we do have a link for those who don't know about it. If you want to just kind of like get up to date on the matter, that's something that we will talk about at another time, but we will, we want to call that to your attention and make sure folks know about that. The next thing is the truth about the Dominican Republic's independence, right? And so this is one of those things that the connection to Black and Sikh might not seem obvious right away. But there is a creator by the name of, oh gosh, I think his name is Ray Ortega or something. I think I'm getting that wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, the Dominican Republic's Independence Day was yesterday, or at least that's the one that's celebrated. I think this is similar to like Cinco de Mayo.
Ortega.
Kevin, that's his name. Thank you. I knew it was Ortega, but I couldn't remember his first name. But he talked a little bit. Actually, let me change this. My bad, y'all. Hang on. I want to change the layout a bit, because this looks kind of funny to me. That's a little bit better. So Kevin Ortega. We're not going to play the whole video just for the sake of time, but I will say, if you have a chance, please check out his video. He talks a little bit about Haiti and how Haiti is responsible for the freedom and helping the Dominican Republic get their liberation. And despite that, they are still vilified and still ostracized and kind of dealing with a lot of the same things that we here as Black Americans are dealing with in the US. And so I think it's important to, again, call attention to that and be mindful of that again, we might talk a little bit about that at a later time so that we can get onto the topic. But I think that's important just because of the timeliness of it. Okay, the one of the other things, and Bree, you can tell me about how you feel about this, or like what your thoughts on this are. The term BIPOC or POC, right? As in, so there's two potentially definitions or meanings for BIPOC for those who don't know, right? BIPOC as in BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, Person of Color, right? And so some people say BIPOC is just Black and Indigenous people, right? Like as in especially Black Americans and Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. So Black, American, Indigenous, Person of Color. But there are also some people are saying it includes all people of color, and it's just specifying Black and Indigenous because those our experiences as Black and Indigenous people are, I guess, more closely aligned or different than other people. I don't know, but that's the other like meaning or understanding that is kind of floating around out there. Black, Indigenous, Person of Color, or just Person of Color. And so the conversation that's happening online that I saw recently, let me see if I can pull up that tweet. Let me get to it. But essentially, and Ray and Bree, I would love to hear both of you guys' thoughts on this, because one thing that I said was like, Black people are not a monolith. We are not all the same. We don't all think the same things. We don't all have the same beliefs. And so some people are okay with the term. Some people are like, actually, no, that doesn't make sense. Just call me Black. I will say one issue I have is when a creator or somebody uses POC, but they really mean Black. And the first example I can think of, I watch a lot of like book reviewers, right? And so there was a book reviewer talking about the KKK and the history of the KKK in the US. And she kept saying people of color. But the fact of the matter is the KKK was not targeting people of color. They were targeting Black Americans, right? And a lot of the history of the KKK and things of that nature are very specific to Black Americans, not all people of color. People of color are not going to have the same experience, the same understanding, the same connection to the KKK. Now, that's just one example, but I would love to know what you guys think. Do you mind being called POC? Because I guess the argument is we're not all the same, right? It's kind of like Asian, Hispanic, Black, or I should say Latina, Black, South Asian, Southeast Asian. Like there's a wide variety of people of color, and we're not all the same. Like our differences, our cultural differences, our racial differences, like whatever, our ethnic differences, all these things, they're so diverse. Is it proper? Is it appropriate to lump us all together in a way that sort of makes it us versus them, right? Like all people of color and then I guess white people. I don't know. So that's kind of the argument. I don't know that I'm articulating it very well, but that's sort of the gist. So some people are saying, yeah, I'm a person of color, but I'm also Black. So like be specific. If you're talking about things related to Black people, say Black people. Like it's okay. Black is not a bad word, right? And then some people are like, it's fine. Just say POC. We know what you mean. That's the school of thought. What do you guys think about that?
So I don't mind going first in that. I'll start with saying that first and foremost, it's Black for me. But that being said, I understand where it comes from or why people utilize it. But one of the biggest reasons that I've always had a problem with it for myself is because it's similar to where you mentioned that, sometimes people try to use POC when they're actually referring to Black. And the instances where I have a trouble with that is when we're forgetting the fact that there are some POCs that also own slaves. There are some POCs that enslaved Black people. So to also lump them in when we're having those sorts of discussions that are specific to Black people and say, no, but it's still this versus this, no, that doesn't jive for me. So when I'm of the mind, if you mean Black, say Black.
I hear you. What about you, Bree?
I would have to agree with that. I have to agree with it. I never looked into the actual definition of what people meant when they said BIPOC and if it's just Black and Indigenous people or if it includes everyone else. I was under the impression that it includes everyone else, but I am very strong when people say people of color and I go, I'm not a person of color. I am a Black person. I actually just made a video kind of talking about it on TikTok I don't know if you guys have been watching Love is Blind, but the interracial couple they didn't work out. And like one of my biggest pet peeves is that she kept saying that the guy identified as Black. And I'm like, he doesn't identify as Black. He's just Black. And it's okay to say that even as a white person. You can say Black people. I don't get offended by it, but maybe some people do. I've never seen anyone get offended by it. But I would prefer that you call me Black. Like I don't see what the big deal is. I think it's very I think it's politically correct. I think it's what do you call it, socially accepted. And like I said, I would rather be called Black. And like Ray was saying, we don't have the same experiences of other people that may be people of color that are not necessarily Black. And we even have our own issues within our own diaspora of like African people and Black people and Jamaican people, although in my opinion, we all are probably African and got dropped off on different stops. There's still some issues within the diaspora in which like African people don't want to be called Black, but for the purposes of certain things, they do consider themselves Black, right? I consider us all Black, just part of the diaspora. So I don't include Black people in PLC. I think the Black is a good separation. I think the Indigenous is a good separation. And then people of color to include like Asians, Hispanics, and other people that don't necessarily fall under Black or Indigenous.
Right. Yeah, I think I would agree with both of you. Right. I think if you mean Black, say Black. Like it's okay. It's not a bad word. I prefer it. There's a number of reasons I prefer Black American over African American. Some people are different, and that's fine. And yeah, I think it's important, if for no other reason, to continue to remind people that we are not a monolith, right? That we are all different. And when I say we, I mean not only are Black people not all the same. We don't all think the same, believe the same, have the same. People of color don't either. And you're right. Like not only are people of color the global majority, right? And that's another reason I don't use the term minority. So not only are we the global majority, but because we are the global majority, we are so different. Like our needs are, we talk about this with Black and Sikh. The reason that we even have this project is because our lived experiences are going to be different than that of somebody who is Indigenous, right? The reason that we do land acknowledgements at the beginning, where I say, hey, I'm on Chumash and Tonga land, is to acknowledge that there were people here before us, despite the fact that I am a descendant of enslaved people and things, and I had ancestors who helped to build this nation to what it is today. There were people who were already here on this land, and their experience, their plight, their generational trauma, their connection to their ancestors, to this land, it is different than mine. It is going to be different than mine. And I think it's, important that we acknowledge that. And I think lumping people together like that sort of allows for that erasure. It allows for us to forget that we are not all the same. We don't all have the same needs. And I think it also, again, I like my therapist said, I don't mind making people uncomfortable. It's not my intent, but I also know that sometimes we need discomfort to grow. And so, yeah, when I see a white person, especially saying POC, but you really mean Black, but you're scared to say Black, that tends to tell me something about you, right? Mm-hmm. Like you might need some more Black people in your life, because like you shouldn't be scared to say Black. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to hear your take on that. I don't know if anybody, let's see if there's any comments. I did see Deacon Fatal had said something about that, so let me see if I can. Deacon Fatal said, oh, this is a good one. This is right on the screen. I miss it right in front of my face. Deacon Fatal said, I look at it this way. How much do the cops pull over POCs? How much do cops pull POCs over compared to Black people? Great question. And again, not to erase the experience of POC. That's not to say people of color do not have similar experiences. What studies and research have found is that when it comes to the legal system, when it comes to the justice system, and Bree, I don't know if you could speak to this. I don't know like how much of this you guys cover in law school, if any of it at all, but something that I have found in my research and learning has been that more so the color of your skin, as in the darker you are, the more you are impacted with longer sentences, and the more you sort of are more likely to have negative experiences with the criminal justice system here in the U.S. And so it's even less just about race, which we know is a made up social construct with very real world implications, but it's more so, in other words, somebody that is Ray and I's complexion, right, is going to have a tougher time than somebody who is much, much lighter, but also maybe Black, right? And so somebody who is South Asian and maybe Latino or Latina, who is closer to Ray and I's complexion, might have a tougher time than, say, a light-skinned Black person. That's kind of what I mean by like your skin color is a factor, sometimes even more so than your race itself. And so, yeah, I think that's a great point, Deacon Fatal. Like, when we really talk about it, as somebody who has a brother who was murdered by the police, as in shot in the back, this is something that I've been like tuned into for a very long time, like since elementary school. And so yeah, I would love to know, Bree, is that something that is covered in law school? Is that something you had to do like on your own or learn about? Or
No, it's not something that they look into in law school. And one reason why would probably be that I was 1 out of 4 Black people in the law school class. So how uncomfortable would that be for your white teacher to be telling you about how it's still disproportionate in the way that Black people are affected by the legal system, or even darker skinned people are affected by the legal system. So no, we mostly covered the law. And it's something you kind of have to look into for yourself. And I think that's a good point as far as like not necessarily being Black, but also the darker skin complexion you are, because even within different communities, like you said, Hispanic, where they also think that when you talk about like a darker skinned Hispanic person, they associate them with like outside work and or being not as clean and things like that. But if you're of lighter complexion, you're closer to whiteness, and you are the ones with like the more prestigious jobs and things like that. So it's not only affecting Black people, but it does affect other people where your skin tone can vary. And I think Asians say that as well too.
absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was thinking, and I think the reason I asked about it in law school is because that's something that we deal with sickle cell not being taught in law, like in medical school and nursing school. The number of times I've heard nurses and doctors say like, oh, we spent about like 45 minutes on it, or it was like part of this one chapter, or there was a paragraph, like, and it's just not a thing, despite the fact that it is one of the most common genetic illnesses in the US, right? Between those who have the trait and those who have the disease, it affects a lot of people in the US, and yet it's not really covered. I think it's getting better now, but that was the reason I had asked about law school. But Ree, you're absolutely right about skin color and perceptions about wealth and status and social status. When I went to India back in 2016, it was almost jarring. It was so like obvious to me. I got off the plane, right? And every worker who had sort of like a more manual labor type job, right? Like not a pilot, not a flight attendant, not like a inside type job, right? Was like almost my color. Now, mind you, I know there are plenty of South Asians who are like me and Ray's color, right? Even your color, Bree. Like I know that, but those are not the people you see in media a lot, right? So getting there and seeing so many South Asians who were damn near my color or my color, I was like, whoa! And then it clicked pretty quickly, like the pattern that I saw, where I was like, oh, they're all in manual labor jobs. Oh, they're all in the like rough menial jobs, right? And then it's just such a stark contrast. I don't know how much things have changed now. That was back in 2016, but that's a great point you bring up, because this is something that doesn't just affect Black people.
It probably hasn't changed much, because you mentioned Dominican Republic recently, and I've been to Dominican Republic twice, and it's the same thing there. It's the darker skinned people doing the harder labor jobs, but the people in the hotel speaking English to you, they tend to be lighter skinned. So I think it's kind of all around the world, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it is. It's race and a lot of this has to do with colonization and like different empires colonizing different places. And I just found out recently. I saw a video on it today, but I found out like a few months ago. There's a creator. This always happens. I always want to tell you guys about a creator, and I can never remember their name. But he's Roma. Not the slur. I'm not the slur. GYPSI. That's not. We're not going to say that. That's considered a slur, right? So we're not going to say that. But he's Roma. And again, I didn't know. I had to do some like research and connecting the dots, but Roma people are actually like South Asians, like ethnically, right? But they're Roma people. They were enslaved before Africans on the continent. So slavery, race-based slavery first started with the Roma people back in like the 1300s, I believe, and did not end until after slavery here in the US ended. And I had no idea. And so a lot of the like discrimination that they deal with, it parallels the discrimination that we deal with here in the US so much, and the caste system even in India so much. So yeah, it's a great point. That's might be something we need to add to our topic list, Ray.
You just gave me some research. I definitely never heard of that at all. So yeah, I'll be looking into that for sure.
You know me. Like I'm the nerd. I'm like, I want to know everything I don't already know, right? So I'll send you the reel because there's a creator I follow, and I'm so mad I can't remember their name, but just so informative, so educational. I've learned so much about like the Roma people. And again, I'm always somebody who's like trying to find the similarities and the connections and where we are similar more than we are different, right? Because it's easy for us to sort of see those differences, but I think it's important to remember that we are similar, and that again, and for those who don't know, when we say like our freedom is tied, it's connected to each other, we don't mean like we are like literally in jail right now. That's not what we're saying. But when we talk about freedom and liberation, we're talking about freedom from discrimination, freedom from having to have things like the Crown Act that we're going to talk about, where you need legal protections to be able to show up as your full authentic self in the workplace or in school settings without being, punished or ostracized. I told you guys last time, I think, right? Did I say this last time, or did I tell you this individually, where I was talking about I had a job at Best Buy, and they acted like they were doing me a favor by letting me keep my locks. They were like, I'm not going to make you change your hair. And I was like, girl, what? What are you saying right now? Like, because my locks were unprofessional, apparently, right? Like the guy wearing the mohawk at the front, the neon mohawk, that was not unprofessional, but my locks were unprofessional, right? So things like the Crown Act, which we'll get into. I think that's just kind of wild to me. But anyways, we'll add it to the list, because I can't wait till Ray tells you about some of the stuff that happens like in the military with Sikhs, and especially Black Sikhs not believing that you're Sikh, and a mess. But that's what we mean when we say like our freedom from discrimination, freedom from the foolishness, the BS. I would love to talk about like fun stuff like Pokemon and not discrimination, and I don't know why I said Pokemon. I don't know anything about Pokemon. Anyways,
right. I play.
You do?
Yeah.
Were you the person who had like the Pokemon cards and stuff growing up? Like, did you collect them?
I most definitely do, and my current AirPod set is also a Pokeball.
Okay, I see you, nerd. Okay. I'm not bad about it. All right, we want to take a quick second to welcome Courtney Core to Black and Sick. I'm not gonna say to SIKHI because I'm not they do say. I was about to say I'm not sure how long they've been sick, but they left a comment a couple weeks ago saying, "So glad I found this page. I've been looking to connect with other African Americans who are practicing SIKHI. I have been sick since 2014. Oh, they've been sick longer than me. Oh, I need to be like, girl, teach me some stuff. That's awesome. So Courtney, Core, I'm not gonna give you guys their username. I don't know if that's okay, but I did want to say thank you for joining the Black and Sick community. We appreciate it. What else, Ray? What else we got on the current events announcement list? Is that it?
Spotlight Judy Singh.
Oh yeah, I want to play this thing. Bree, tell me if you've heard of this. Hold on, I have too many tabs. That's why I'm like clicking around and I have too many windows open. But Bree, not too long ago, we found out that there was a Black Punjabi singer who was pretty famous at some point during the time before we were all born. But has one parent who is I think African, maybe Canadian or African. We're gonna let this person tell you about it. Kimmy, I just need to know, do I need to pull it up, or do you have the video, the Judy Singh video? Let me see. All right, I think I have it up, so I'm gonna just see if I can just share my screen to play it, because I don't know yet.
And I don't know if you wanted me to answer the question, but no, I had never heard of it. The singer.
Yeah, I did want to know. Yeah, I want to know if you'd heard of it, because I certainly hadn't. I was like, girl, what?
I believe it was actually it was in our community actually originally. Actually, probably be about a month ago now. Definitely quite a few weeks where somebody actually told us about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was last year, actually, wasn't it? Or maybe it was this year. But like, yeah, it was. We had a WhatsApp like group chat or something like that, and there's this TikToker who, there's a TikToker who. Oh, you know what? This happens every time I try to share my screen, and then you guys can't hear the audio, and I don't know if that's gonna happen again this time. Oh, that's because it has block audio. Okay, I just changed it. But yeah, the group chat, they dropped the this video in there that they made, and you guys should follow this creator too, because they give a lot of like cool tips and like things like that. So Ray, let me know if you can hear this or not. Can you hear that? Did you hear that? No.
I was hoping so, but no.
I was too. I hit allow, but it didn't work. Oh, this happens every time. Oh, there we go.
The screen. Oh, there you go.
There we go. That's not me. So that's I think that's
Did you know there's a black
There
Punjabi
we go.
female singer who had success in the 50s, 60s, and 70s?
Leaving soon for New York.
Introducing Judy Singh, born in Alberta, Canada in 1945, to a black mother, Effie Jones, and a Punjabi immigrant father, Sohan Singh Pullar. Her maternal grandparents were from the founding families of Amber Valley, which is a black settlement outside of Alberta in Canada. Her parents married in 1926, and according to the City Museum, Edmonton had a very harmonious marriage, including having 7 children. Judy began her career singing jingles for hit radio stations. Eventually, she moved to Winnipeg to work with CBC, and she would record her hit song in 1970 with Tommy Banks. The song, titled A Time for Love, was a smash hit and is still loved today. It's achieved over 1 million streams on Spotify despite being over 50 years old. Judy Singh was a true pioneer who made beautiful music and also had a fascinating family history. Please forgive me for any mistakes, and please follow for more Punjabi and Sikh related content.
Yeah, I was fascinated when I found out about that. But I love hearing. First of all, I love hearing about new artists. I love discovering new artists. And I think the only like correction that somebody put in the comments was like Afro Punjabi, like to call her Afro Punjabi or something like that, which makes sense. And then I think somebody else was saying like, don't call her black, like call her, which we've talked about already this time and plenty of content before. It's okay to say black, guys. It's not a bad word.
Yeah.
It's just the name of our culture. It's not just a race. It's also a culture. Black American isn't a culture. It's okay. It's okay. So
Well, it's funny because a lot of different people in a lot of different communities too will come up with their own names for what they want to call us, but then they're afraid to call us black. We didn't ask for the nickname you want to give me.
Right. And I think, it's, to me, it's like it tells me a lot about a person when they're like scared to say black. I just sort of assume you don't have black people in your life, or like you're not close with any black people. You know what I mean? Like, because I understand not knowing or being nervous or not wanting to cause harm. Like, I get that. I do.
Mhm.
And then if you're not in community with those people, right? Because I think that's like the best thing. Like when we talk about diversity and inclusion and we talk about how things need to be more diverse, like the reason people end up tokenizing others unintentionally, or the way people get tokenized, is by like trying to satisfy numbers or a quota, right? Without getting to know the person genuinely, right? Like, so to me, it's like, if you're scared to say black, I feel like you're not in community with black people. Like maybe some, like you have a coworker, you have a black friend, but like, why don't you know that it's okay to say black? It's just weird. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but that's always an indication to me. Your whole circle might be white.
I'll remember this time, like just being a kid. And that's why I think it's more on the line of, for lack of a better word, maybe ignorance. Like you said, maybe not being involved or around that many black people. Because I remember being like a little kid, maybe 6 years old. And I asked my mom, why do people keep calling me black when I am clearly brown, right? And I really didn't understand, why are you calling me black? And then she had to explain it to me. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But it's not the right color, basically, because you are like technically brown. But yeah, and that was what, 6, trying to put things together. And now we're dealing with people saying, oh, well, are you identifying as black? Like, no.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing.
A Caucasian woman. How dare you call me black?
That's the other thing. So first of all, you're not the only one. So my godson did the same thing, right? Like, oh, mommy's, because his mom is like real light skin, and his dad is like real dark skin, like they on the opposite ends of like for black people, right? And so he was like, oh, mommy's beige. Like he was using all kind of colors, and like she was like low-key offended, but it was hilarious, right? Like, what color is mommy? She's pink. No, but she's beige right here. But she's hilarious. And then daddy was like brown, right? So he wasn't understanding, just like you said, Brie. He was like, where's black coming from? Like what is happening right now? And I was like, I get it. I was like, I get it, but it's time to introduce you to the way of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So, let me tell on Little Ray, because it actually, the funny thing is I have one of those stories, but it also ties into today's discussion. So little me is in elementary, and I had a best friend at school, and I loved his hair, and I wanted the haircut that he had. So I went home and told my mom, I forget the kid's name, Mama, I want my hair like Johnny. And mom was like, oh, okay, well, we have a parent teacher conference coming up. So when we get to go, you can show me what it's like. So you can go ask him, we can get your hair cut like Johnny. Well, mom got to meet Johnny, and I'm from Houston, Texas. For y'all, those of y'all that don't know, and there is a large Latino population there too. Johnny was from Mexico, and Johnny had straight hair. And mom had to explain to me why I couldn't get my hair like Johnny.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I get it. That makes sense. So what did mom say?
You were gonna say he had a bowl cut.
She was like, "Oh, baby, listen." And this was actually the first time we ever had the discussion about blackness or anything else like that too, because there just was no need to. I guess where I was, because I was in community with everyone, most people that looked like me or Latino, so we never had that discussion. Mom was like, "No, baby, you're black. Johnny is from Mexico. He has a different type of hair than yours. You guys are different, and there's nothing wrong with difference, but you can't get that exact type of style. But let's see if maybe we can figure out if there's some kind of way you can get something similar."
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me this.
I wanted a spiky, gelled up look. That's what I wanted. My little sides, little shaved, and a little spiked up little thing. That's what I wanted.
So this is what I was about to say. So you're telling me back during like the millennial, like the early 2000s, you're telling me you never went through a phase of trying to like have the like Justin Bieber swoop or like the straight hair swooped over things that our hair is not supposed to do, but we tried anyway. You're saying you didn't do none of that?
Oh, I had a mohawk. I gelled up.
I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I had a mohawk too. Yeah. I don't mean that. I mean like the emo, like kind of punk scene hair. You don't remember? Okay, this happens when you grow up around white people.
So I didn't do my hair like that. I only had the black nails because I was the emo kid. Yeah, most definitely. And instead of going to PET,
so you never tried to have scene hair?
I didn't try to have scene hair. No, I was in Houston. It's too humid. My hair was gonna go.
Okay, I was in New Orleans and I still tried it like an idiot, like I think my college graduation, I had straight hair. Why? I don't know. Like when I pledged my sorority and we had like our neophyte show or whatever, they were like, can you straighten your hair? Because at the time I had natural hair and nobody else had natural hair. So it was like not really a thing yet. And so they were like, can you straighten your hair? And I was like, so you want me to straighten my hair and then go out there and sweat while I'm stepping and strolling? You think that's smart? You think that's wise? You think, so you want me to look a fool is what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing is you trying to clown me in front of everybody. So why I tried it for graduation, I don't know, but I still tried the scene hair. Okay, it's fine. I'll be the only one. I'll admit it. It's fine. But yeah, we can't all do the same things. Now, speaking of hair, since we're already on the topic of hair, did I miss anything? If I did, that's too bad. We'll come back later. Oh, I did, but we're going to do that later. So we're going to talk a little bit about the significance of Black hair. And then we're going to talk about the Crown Act. And we're going to talk a little bit about legal protections in general and how the Crown Act came to be. And the question that we really want to answer is, do Sikhs, similar to how Black people now have legal protections specifically for our hair, do Sikhs also need something specific? Because when I looked it up, I thought that we already had laws specifically for Sikhs, like regarding religious freedom and like articles of faith, right? But we don't have laws specific to us. It's just that, any cases that have been won or our right to do it has been, and Bree, I know I'm pretty sure I'm using like the wrong language here, but it's like covered under other laws, right? Like the Civil Rights Act or like the freedom to practice your own religion, right? But there's no law specifically for Sikhs in the way that there is for Black hair now. And we didn't always have it, but from what I read, California was the first to adopt it in 2019 when Governor Gavin Newsom signed the Crown Act into law. And it was introduced, I think, January of 2019, and then he signed it into law July of 2019. And for those who don't know, it is essentially a law. This is me paraphrasing. It is essentially a law that allows Black people to show up in workplaces, in school settings, anywhere in the world with our natural hair, the way that it naturally grows out of our head, without being discriminated against for it. right? So you can no longer fire people or tell us that our natural hair is unprofessional or unpresentable or whatever, or kick students out of school, which I believe just happened in Texas, right? I don't know if you know about that. Somebody just kind of put me on game about that. But you can't, force a black boy to cut his locks before a wrestling match anymore because you think locks are unprofessional or unpresentable. You can no longer fire somebody or tell them you're going to let them keep their locks because it's not professional and doesn't meet the dress code standards, right? That's what the Crown Act is about. It basically it is legal protection for it doesn't just cover Black people. I want to be clear. It's just that Black people are the most impacted by it because it usually happens to Black people, but it's really anybody. Like, you can no longer fire somebody or discriminate against them for any reason because of their natural hair. Like, we now have that legal protection thanks to the Crown Act. Bree, what were you thinking? We're 2019. That was a few years ago. And I know, Bree, you're probably like 12 and a half because Bree's so young. She's not really 12 and a half. We're actually pretty close to the same age. But what were you thinking, though, when the Crown Act was in talks and then got passed and all that?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I didn't really pay that much attention to it because I went to HBCU for one, so we didn't really have to deal with that where I was for the most part around that time. And then, what was that?
So you're not gonna shout out to HBCU? You're not gonna say which one?
I went to Grambling State University. Let's go Tigers, Gram fam, all the things. All right. But no, I didn't really deal with that too much because pretty much everybody in the school was Black. Most people in the school was Black. So I didn't really pay attention to it. And I am also a younger millennial, and I think my age of millennial going into Gen Z are kind of like the people like, we're going to do what we want and kind of y'all figure it out amongst yourselves and see what goes on. And I actually have a story about my hair and being in law school because I was in law school around this time before the Crown Act was passed. And so I had a diversity fellowship. So mind you, I am accepted into this program because I am diverse, whether that's being a woman or being a Black person. And for me, the way I applied was as a Black person, right? So I get accepted to this predominantly white law firm. I think they had like 1% Black people, and this was a firm across multiple states. And my mama called me and she was like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing my hair for my diversity fellowship. She's like, what are you doing to it? I was like, oh, I'm putting singles in. I'm putting braids in. And she was like, you're going to do that on your first day of work in the law firm? And I was like, yes. What is the problem in doing that? And she was like, oh, well, they're probably going to say, it's unprofessional and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, who's going to wake up and comb my hair at 6 o'clock in the morning? They're not going to comb my hair. Yeah. I said, they're not going to comb my hair, so I'm going to go. They accepted me for being diverse, and here I am. So I go there. They don't say nothing. The only person that said something to me about my hair was a Black person. Yep, was a Black judge. I knew it. Black judge said something about my hair, and I was there with an older white man. He was probably like in his 50s, white man. He was my supervisor. And she asked him, how do you feel about her wearing braids in the office? And he was caught off guard. His answer was funny. I remember it to this day. He goes, well, we adapt to the Western culture and, we don't have a problem with it. I'm like, the Western culture? Like, I didn't even know what to say to him. Like, what are you talking about?
Because what does that even mean?
Right. What does that even mean? She was in the same sorority as me. Her hair was straightened, all the things. The girl that was doing her internship with her was a young Black girl. She had her hair pulled back into a bun, but you could tell she was still like pretty natural, but it was pulled back into a bun. And I'm just there with my braids. And I go back to the office and I tell my other supervisors working with me that are like white people too. And they're like, what? Why would she say that? That's so rude. Like, why would they question you about your hair? Your hair is like very professional. It looks good. It's not like unkept or anything. And I'm walking around here with rainbow hair and no one has ever said anything like that to me. Like, it was a white lady saying she had rainbow hair. So, as far as the Crown Act goes, that was, it was still kind of pending when I got into that role. And I didn't really let it affect me because I was so young in the workforce. So it hadn't really affected me negatively yet until that specific situation, but it didn't get me fired or anything like that. So I'm glad that they have it and then that they put it forward. But I do think even if they didn't have that law in place, younger millennials, Gen Z, probably Gen Alpha was going to run that. They were going to walk all over that anyways.
Yeah, I think it's funny because Ray, we were just talking about this, right? How we can sometimes be our own bullies or our own harshest critics. And I say we as in like Black people and other Black people. And that's why when you were telling your story, Brie, I knew it was coming. I just knew it was coming. But I want to add like a bit of like context to this, right? Because I don't want to vilify the Black person who said that to Brie, or like Black people in general who try to like police other Black people. I do want to add some context to that, right? And I think it's like along with your mom too, like saying you're gonna wear singles on your first day at a law thing. Like I get it, because I get it now, right? I didn't always get it.
And but mind you, my mom's hair is purple. And she's asking me about if I'm gonna wear, braids, but she works with like kids and things like that.
Exactly. And you're her baby, right? And she wants to protect you. She wants to make sure you're okay. It's coming from like a place of like caring and concern and like worry, because she knows what we also know, but she has probably had to experience it firsthand, right? And is really, and I imagine that this is what a lot is the case for a lot of Black people. So it's the same reason I always tell people I grew up with strong like respectability politics in the household, right? Like I grew up being told, don't do this, you don't, like me wearing a do-rag right now on stream, little me, it would have never happened. Like it was, a do-rag is not a thing that you wear out. It is not a fashion article. It is not an accessory. It is for bedtime. You keep it in the house and nobody should ever see it, right? Like it was that like deep, right? And so that's another reason that I do wear it intentionally, like to sort of like push back in that. But that comes from like survival, like trying to survive a world that tells us that our natural hair is unprofessional, that our natural hair is a problem, it is unkept, it is naturally not okay because it doesn't look like whatever, insert whatever, Western European beauty standard you want to insert. And so I will say that like, sure, some people, some like other Black people might be judgy about it. And I will say that I believe most Black people, especially older ones, who say things like that, who will say, you're not going to do your hair before you leave the house, who will, the same reason when I asked my mom about locks for the first time, I was in junior high. I was in junior high when I first asked my mom about locks. What do you know about locks? And I remember seeing like Whoopi Goldberg on like an award show. And I was like, ooh, that's a way for me to have hair, but not have to do my hair, because I didn't want to relax her, right? Because my hair's like actually not that thick. So I was like, okay, that might be a good solution for me, right? But nobody around me had locks. Nobody around me had natural hair. So when I asked my mom about it, I won't go into like the answer she gave, but it was not like pleasant, right? But she wasn't saying it in a judgmental way. She was saying what she knew at the time. Nobody had natural hair. So like, I get it. She wanted me, and somebody who grew up in predominantly white spaces in the suburbs, in my Girl Scout troop, in my sports, on my sports team, at school, in private school. Like I was just constantly around other white people unless I was at church or with my family. And so she was really trying to protect me is what she was trying to do. And so a lot of the like respectability politics and the dress like this, don't dress like this, present like this, don't do that in front of mixed company. All of that was just about her trying to help me survive in a world that she knew would push back and give me problems for being who I am naturally. And so even as disappointing as it is to hear Bree's, story that it was the only person who said something was another Black person, I knew it was coming because I understand respectability politics and I understand what it is to try to survive and like give your child or offspring or the people that you care about tools to help them survive, right? And that's something that Ray and I were discussing because I was watching a judge, and I watched these two things back to back. It's actually Judge Bryant. I don't know if you guys know Judge Bryant, but I also watched Judge Stephanie Boyd, right? And I watched just how gracious Judge Bryant was for this particular white woman who had assaulted somebody. Now, this white woman had slammed this person's head into the concrete, walked away, went and got beer, and then poured the beer all over them. And Judge Bryant was just like so gracious and was just like, I mean, like definitely chewed her out and gave her some words or whatever. But the entire time the white woman sat there and didn't say a word and was like very stoic and was just like, said what she had to say and then didn't say a word, right? Now, then I watched a video like almost immediately after where there was a Black woman and like her body language, I immediately read it as her being anxious. Like, Brie, you remember when we were talking about the Hannah Gutierrez like interview, and some people were saying, well, she seems like she's high, and some people were saying, I think she's anxious and I think she's nervous. I read the Black woman's body language and her facial expression as her being anxious and trying not to cry. She was doing the same things I do, right? She's like looking up, she's like blinking, she's like trying, like you could just see all over that she was doing everything to like stay composed. And a lot of people don't know this, but like Black people, and Black people are not the only ones, but culturally we tend to be more expressive, right? That's why you saw me just fall out when I said it was a Black person, right? Like this is how we are. We start laughing, we start running all over the place. We be like, oh my God, like that's just kind of like how we are culturally, like naturally. Like if you grow up around that, you're probably more likely to adapt those type of expressions and body language or whatever. So that's what I got from it. Judge Bryant got disrespect from it because the woman wasn't sitting still, looking at her straight in the eye, and I was just like, we can sometimes be our own harshest critics, you know, like we can be sometimes be our own villains. And sometimes I wonder if that's like, well, I'm gonna be your critic before the world gets to you, you know, like I'm gonna do this before. I don't know. Ray, you kind of can tell me like your thoughts on that, because you also you kind of had a different or a similar maybe parallel angle, but in terms of like men and masculinity and things like that. I don't know if you want to speak to that or not.
Well, most definitely. I've had situations, especially, I think the best example was when I was actually going through the fire academy. There was a point in time, I'm a person that can be very hypercritical. You've learned that in our dealings and stuff of myself. But one of the things that I tend to do, if I make a mistake or I'm trying to figure things out, I pause for a moment and I reflect on everything. And sometimes, and I can be a bit stone faced. It's sometimes hard to really read my emotions at that time. And so there was one situation where I messed up on a rotation of something that we were practicing. And the instructor there, older white guy there, saw me sitting there and just looked at me and goes, and you can wipe that fucking attitude off your face. And I was like, and see, we get stuff like that, and it bothers me because they don't realize that I didn't have an attitude, but now I got an attitude. Because the biggest thing that always that sets me off so much, because like, don't accuse me of having an attitude. Like legit, I ain't said nothing, I ain't done nothing, I'm quiet. I'm processing this the way that I need to process it. And I think that you mentioned this the last time we had a conversation about this. How about you ask me?
Yeah. Instead of assuming. That's always my go-to, right? It's the thing that I've said when we first started this project, and folks came in making all types of assumptions, right? You know, whether it's giving us, and a lot of times it's well-meaning, right? Giving us advice. Oh, well, let me tell you about this, or let me learn about this. And I was like, girl, I learned about that 3 years ago because I've been a Sikh for like 8 years now. And they're like, oh, I just assumed. Yeah, you just assumed that I was new. And again, that's not an assumption that's necessarily harmful, but it's just an example of like assumptions that we kind of come, and we all do it because we're human, right? Like, to be clear, we all sort of make these snap judgments and assumptions. And tying this back to hair, you know, Bree, this is something that we talked about when we were working on our Black hair episode. Hair as a signifier. And so for those who don't know, a signifier is anything that you can observe, any observable thing that carries meaning or understanding in a particular context, whether it's a social context or a historical context or whatever. And so signifiers, the meanings can change over time, right? So when you saw somebody with locks back in the 1990s, like when Whoopi Goldberg, right, when she came on the scene and she had those like larger, they kind of were almost like freeform locks, that sort of had a different meaning and connotation than locks do right now, or than micro locks or sister locks have now, right? Or if you see two Black women, say you got a set of twins, Black women, and one has locks and one is wearing a wig, a straight, just like jet black wig, you sort of make different assumptions about them. You know, especially if you see them apart, you make different assumptions about them just based on their hair. And especially with Black people and the fact that our hair is so significant to our culture and also our identity, our self-expression. But it's also a signifier. It is inherently a signifier because it is almost always visible, right? It's almost always observable unless you cover it. And so it carries meaning, it carries, you know, connotations, and those meanings can change based on, again, the social context, the historical context. They can change over time. you know, when people see somebody with locks, it used to be that they just assumed that they were like Afrocentric, like Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill. Even every time I say this, I use the same two examples, right? Erykah Badu and Lauryn Hill. And that's because back in the day, we didn't have a bunch of Black women with locks. Those were the ones that we had. And guess what? They were Afrocentric. They were the incense burning, you know, neo soul. Like that's what you assumed, right? And so people saw me with locks and assumed that about me. And I was like, can't be further from the truth. I'm out here listening to Fall Out Boy, right? Like I'm going to the Meet Me at the Altar concert. Like I'm, you know, I got locks because seeing hair didn't work for me, you know, like, so yeah. So it's like, it's like, I understand like your mom saying like, oh, you're doing individuals. And then I also love how you were like, yeah, they hired me knowing who I am. Like they knew who I was when they hired me. I would assume that they would be okay with this aspect of me as well. And if not, then we got a bigger problem, right?
They need to get out the diversity program.
Right. Go ahead.
I don't think that people, and I think this is one of the reasons, because I've had people that have been surprised when I came into the work field before I joined the military, when I came into the workforce, when I mentioned how well I've always done and done pretty well with a lot of jobs. And with a lot of those jobs, I never really, I came out really well most of the time when I interviewed. I was paid rather well too. And it was sometimes not even having maybe some of the same qualifications that another person would, but I was able to sell myself. But not only that, one of the things was I was very comfortable walking into this interview and presenting in a way to let you know that, hey, you're not just interviewing me. I'm interviewing you too. I'm not going to just take this job.
Real. That's real. That's real as heck. I love that. The other thing I was gonna say, Bree, you mentioned being a younger millennial, and actually all three of us are millennials. I think I'm in like I'm a mid millennial. I forgot. I was trying to think of that. So I'm a mid millennial. Ray, I think, is like a mid-ish to younger millennial, and then Bree is a younger millennial. But one thing that I think, like some dots that I connected while you were speaking, because you were saying like whether the law was a thing or not, that you were going to be you, like this is who you are, and they can either accept it or not. And that's how a lot of millennials think. And I would agree with you. And I think that's why the Crown Act finally exists though. Like, I don't think the Crown Act exists in spite of or separate from millennials. I think it exists because of us
it's
coming
the older millennials that brought it.
Right. I think it exists because, you know, we have been speaking up and we've come to the table like, hey, look, this is not going to work anymore. And something that I don't say anymore, but that I used to, and the reason I don't say it is because I realized that other people were saying it, but meaning something entirely different, was because I used to say like, I'm not my ancestors, right? Like I'm not, and when I say that, that's not dismissing my ancestors. It's the opposite. I mean it in the opposite way. What I mean is like, you treated my ancestors like X, and they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the tools, they did their best then, and I'm picking up where they left off, right? And what you got away with in terms of treating them and the things that you did to them, you're not going to get away with that with us, with my generation. And it's not because I'm so much better, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of my ancestors. It's because again, I'm picking up where they left off. I'm not who I am in spite of my ancestors. I'm who I am because of them, because I'm like, okay, we saw what Martin Luther King did, that didn't work too well. We saw what Malcolm X was trying, that didn't work too well, but we got a lot of information from it though. We got a lot of, you know, you have to start somewhere. This is the thing I was telling Ray, like you can't go from 0 to 100 overnight, right? We have to figure this thing out. And so our ancestors, I'm so grateful to them for having to deal with stuff that we don't have to deal with anymore, right? Like, so now we have the Crown Act. And so, yeah, so there's a couple things. So Black hair is pretty unique in a number of ways, and it's culturally significant for a number of reasons. And that's not to say that hair is not significant to other cultures or other people. I can really, at this time, only speak to the ways in which it is significant to us. And Bree, you can let me know if you agree or disagree with any of this. Ray and I sat down over the course of like a few weeks or a couple weeks and tried to really break it down and did some research and learning to try to figure out the ways to try to find out why Black hair is so significant to our culture, right? Because something that I have spoken about, but not in depth, is that when I became Sikh, when I converted, I just assumed that wearing a turban every day would be easy for me, that it was something that I would want to do, that it would just be a thing, because I always wear hats. I wear hats almost all the time. Bree, you've literally never seen me without something on my head, right? Like the few times that you've seen me on live, like what, like I always have something on, whether it's a hat, do something, hair, head wrap, whatever. And so I just assumed it would be easy. And yet the experience that I had was very much not that. I very much felt not like myself. I felt like almost like I was in costume or like I was cosplaying. I felt less visible. I did, it didn't feel right. And I didn't know how to explain it at the time. I didn't have the language for it or the words for it. I know now that it's because hair is not only a significant part of my culture and identity, it's also a form of self-expression, right? It's like the way that I connect with my community, like my Black community or whatever. And so, covering it every single day while I'm out in the world just was an entirely different experience than wearing my hair out but having a do-rag on, or wearing my hair out and having a hat on or something like that. It was just different. And we spent this time on the episode trying to figure out a way to communicate those importances and those differences. Yeah.
I definitely like to jump in there too, because one of the things that we were able to realize was whereas there were so many similarities for our stories, there was also some major differences, at least for me and my background. My significance in relation to my hair was a little bit more or less the fact that there was a whole background and cultural aspect to me. There was a lot that was tied into just care for our hair in general for a lot of young Black boys, young Black girls, etc. You would see. You're spending that time either if you weren't going to the beauty shop or the beauty shop or the salon, then you were going with your parents. I remember being a little boy going with my mama to the beauty shop, and we got up at dark 30 in the morning to be the first ones there, to still leave at nighttime. Just so we could get there, mama could get there, get her hair done just like how it was when she got there. But it was beautiful. But there was just a couple of things here and there that need to be adjusted. That's all.
Well, that's that's what Bree said when she was like, "Are they gonna do my hair every morning? Are they getting up at 6 a.m.?" Because to be clear, Black hair is not. I mean, depending on the type of hair texture you have, it is not wake up at 6 a.m., wash it, let it air dry, and you good, or wash it, blow dry it, and you good, or wash it, blow dry it, throw a couple of curls in it, and you good. No, like unless you have a relaxer, and even if you do, that's not what you're doing every morning. That's not a thing. So even the care and maintenance of like Black hair is quite different, and like has to be taken into account when it comes to all of these things. So Brie, I love how you said like you said so much in a single sentence, which was, are they gonna get up at 6 a.m. and do my hair every day?
Well,
okay. They're gonna get these braids.
The thing about it is, a lot of Black people, and I know me for sure, I have to plan my weekend around doing my hair because I don't have the little 3B hair. I have 4C hair. I have the toughest quality hair.
You ain't have to say 3B like that. You ain't have to say 3B like that, Bree.
Because that's easy to me. That's
like it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
It is. For me, it is, because 4C, I gotta fight every day.
Okay. Let me just say this. There's a reason I have locks. Okay. Now, one is that you can't tell the texture of my hair from my locks, and so I don't get any feedback about that. But I will just say, I went to therapy because my hair was a way that people tried to say that I was not Black enough. But I'm not gonna get into that right now. But you can really tell the texture of my hair from my locks. That's one. And then two, I don't have to do it all the time, right? I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. I can literally get up and go. I can also wash it and go if I want to, but only because I have locks. Now, I would just like to say, on behalf of anybody who is type 3, it is not necessarily easy just because it's different and not 4C. Okay. I will admit it is probably not as complicated or difficult as 4C, but it's not easy.
I want you to fight 4C a couple times. Get in the boxing round with 4C a couple times and then let me know.
You're right. You're right. I ain't gonna say too much.
It's a little bit easier.
I'm gonna stop because you know what? I don't even want to do mine, so I definitely don't want to do 4C. So you got it. You got it.
I will say this. This is the only area that I say was easy for my 4C hair. When I wanted to rock my braids and everything, and everybody wanted to, when braids were in style and all the fellas were wearing braids, A lot of people had to go take them rubber bands and stuff and make sure you had some rubber bands to tie off the bottom. I ain't need no rubber bands. That hair wasn't going nowhere.
It's gonna stick. You're not gonna have a problem. Same thing. People be trying to get their little afro puff. No, I don't got no problem with an afro puff now. It's gonna be big and full, but it might shrink a little bit.
We talked about this. We talked about people always want to like sort of like want what they don't have, right? So people would see my hair and go, "Oh, like are you mixed?" Yes, I mix with black and black. Like, "Oh, your hair must be so easy." It's not, but okay. But like the other thing is like people would see my hair, and because it is closer in proximity to whiteness, assume that my hair was better. It is not. My hair is not that thick. It's not that dense. My hair is pretty thin. I got a relaxer and was like, girl, what is this? I look a mess, right? Like there's a reason I didn't have a relaxer very long. And so like, yeah, I really wanted the Colin Kaepernick afro for a while, but my shit just kind of wilts because it's not that thick and not that dense. So my afro don't stay afro. I don't get to be Angela Davis. You know what I mean? Like, and I always, and Ray's exactly right. Like we can talk about like how difficult 4C hair is, like whether in fun, like in jest or seriously, but also there are plenty of amazing qualities about 4C hair, right? And the fact that you don't necessarily need a rubber band, the fact that your braids look like nicer longer, right? Like you can braid somebody's hair with 4C and them braids gonna look nice for a minute. You braid my hair, not only do my edges not lay down because I barely have any, and they like, I got baby hairs till back here, okay? My braids don't look that nice. My locks don't look that nice for that long. That's why I always have something on my head. So like there are pros and cons to all different types of hair. And so I really just wanted to make a point that like, I know we're like mostly like, you know, joking around, but also like there are plenty of amazing qualities about 4C hair. Qualities that I have been envious of my entire life. I've always only wanted locks, and my locks would be so much easier and look so much nicer if I had 4C or kinkier hair. And that's like all I've wanted, right? So pros and cons, grass always looks greener. You always want what you don't have, or you think you want what you don't have, but you know, but that brings me to things that make Black hair unique. Aside from like it being self-expression, we identified a list of things, and Brie, you can tell us what you think about this. One is I'm gonna go through the list and we can touch on them a little bit more in depth. So functionality, its uniqueness, the fact that it is a signifier. So for better or worse, it is a signifier, which, you know, sort of inherently makes it political, but we'll talk about that because really everything is political. People be like, I don't really get into politics. Yes, you do. You just don't realize it. Okay, that's that. Self-expression. So it's an opportunity for an avenue for self-expression, and also it is an opportunity or channel or vehicle for connection to community and culture. And so let me tell you a little bit about what we mean about that, right? Or what we mean when we say that. So functionality, back from even pre our existence here on the US. So back to our existence on the continent of Africa, our ancestors, right? Hair function, it was also functional for us, right? From braiding maps into our hair, or braiding messages into our hair, or putting seeds and other things in our hair. Like it served functional purpose, right? Hold on one second. Okay. So functionality, it is unique. Usually, you know, Black hair when you see it. You know it when you see it, and that's all I'm gonna say about that in terms of uniqueness. Then there's also I talked about it being a signifier, which means that, again, for better or for worse, unless your hair is fully covered, it's going to signify certain things. And what it signifies, we don't even always have control over, because if I'm thinking my hair signifies one thing, but somebody else has a different understanding, or it has a different connotation for somebody else, then that's what it's signifying to that person. Just like when I said people assumed that I was like really Afrocentric and burning incense in the living room and like listening to neo soul and this and that. And it was completely inaccurate, but that's what it signified to them based on their understanding of culture and Black hair in society at the time, right? So it's a signifier. And as such, it is also political, because we can also talk about the same way in which, when it comes to the criminal justice system, you will often have a harder, more difficult time the darker you are. This can also be true for hair, right? Just like racism is a thing, colorism is a thing, but also texturism and featurism. So if you have a certain texture, so again, folks with 4C hair often face more discrimination than folks with type 3 hair or type 2 hair. It's just kind of like it is the way it is, because these things all stem from racism and white supremacy and things of that nature, right? And so So yeah, so it is political in that way. And then self-expression. I don't think any of us here can say, it's not an avenue for self-expression for us. Like, there's been plenty of people who hair is just hair for them, right? It's just, you have this haircut and they've had the same haircut their whole life. Like, I don't know if y'all know, like, and I'm talking like not non-black people. They just the same haircut their whole life, and they might only get their haircut like, huh?
Some people be stuck in the 80s.
Yeah, like
up and everything. I'd be like,
yes,
okay, we gotta evolve.
Same haircut the whole life. And some of them, sometimes they only get their haircut like a few times a year, right? Like, I went to school. I told you I went to school with like nothing but, not just white people, because I grew up in the Bay Area, so it was kind of diverse, but it was like mostly like white. And I used to be like, why don't y'all get y'all haircut that often? Like, your hair be growing down your neck, like you no line to speak of. And you could always tell when they got a haircut, because it was like they came to school and like this fresh cut, and then it would grow out for like weeks at a time. And Ray, I think you can speak to this in terms of like, after a black boy, and we're just talking about like back in the day. Like, these days, I've also had a fade, so we're not just saying only black boys, but we're talking about black boys for right now. When you get your first cut, after you go to the barbershop for the first time, there is an expectation that you maintain that cut. If you're gonna wear a fade, if you're gonna rock a whatever, there's an expectation you maintain that you have that line up. Your line is fresh, it's crispy. You're not going past a couple weeks. I don't know. You want to speak to that a little bit? Talk about the uniqueness or self-expression?
Most definitely. And I could say this, to be quite honest too, it was a little bit different around our age group anyway for little boys, because I don't know if it was the same for y'all where y'all were, but back home for me, you ain't had no choice. You was getting a fade, because mama ain't got time to be trying to do all this other extra stuff with your hair. So you getting a fade. We're gonna take you in, and then from that point forward, you getting your haircut every 2 weeks, because I need to make sure that, as my mama used to say, make sure you look like you belong to somebody. Mm-hmm. So even with that, if you're a person that wanted to maybe try to stand out and look a little bit more fresh, a lot of times what we went to was wanted to try to rock, what do you call it? You want to rock some 360 waves or something like that. I guess the kids called them 360s now. We was just calling them waves when I was younger. But even in that in of itself took a whole lot of work and a lot of effort. Like, I don't think a whole lot of people realize what it actually took to get some really, really good waves. I'm talking about, you got to get up, you probably taking a hot towel, place that over your head with the hot towel, getting the pores, soften up the hair real good, take some pomade, which is like grease, set that on there, rub it in real good, hit that one more time, and then you were brushing like crazy, throw on that do-rag, and you got to sleep in it. You sleeping in it because you want to train the hair. For those of y'all that aren't that familiar with black hair, that hair, of course, because it does have that curl pattern, by laying it down like that and sleeping on it with the do-rag, you're helping to train it to lay flat, which is how you're getting that wavy pattern. Now, along with that, like I said, it required a lot of brushing. So when I was in school, you saw all the ones that had the nice wavy hair pattern walking around all day long with that brush.
Boy, put that brush down and pick up a pencil.
Yes. And see, for me, because me and Smalls talked about this before. For me, I knew about it and I tried a couple times, but I'm be honest, and this is the reason I eventually got locks. I was a little too lazy to be trying to brush my hair all day long. I tried a couple times. I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
And it's a hair texture thing too, because if you're saying you're having 4C hair, it's going to be a lot harder to accomplish that than someone that has not 4C hair, right? Same thing with me when all the girls came out with the wash and goes. My hair does not wash and go. In the curl pattern that these chicks had, right? My hair washes and goes into an afro, and that's about all it has for you. So sometimes it's a trick. Sometimes it's a trick for sure. But I know my husband, he has, I don't know what his hair type is, but his hair naturally goes into waves. And so when my brother sees him, he's like, oh, how you get your waves? I'm like, he literally does nothing to it. It just happens. But my brother has 4C hair. So he was in there brushing and never really accomplished the look he was going for. So
I think I got a couple of little layers here and there a couple of times. That's about as good as I got. But like I said, I was a little bit I kept trying, but I was a little too lazy, especially in school when I had too much other things going on. I was a little bit too lazy to try to keep on brushing at my hair, and sometimes it just started to feel a little uncomfortable too. But I
Mhm.
mean, like I said, that's one of those things. It ties back into what we mentioned before, when basically saying, hey, we put in a lot of work just to care and maintain this hair. And one of the other things I was mentioning earlier too is going to get our hair take care of it was a whole experience in of itself too. The beauty
Mhm.
salon, you went there for current events, discussions about what's going on in the neighborhood, but sometimes you're getting some political discussions there too. Heck, sometimes you found out about a lot of things going on in the world by going to the barbershop or the beauty salon.
Mhm.
And then you had somebody that was going to come through. Somebody's selling some plates, a fish plate or something like that. Somebody's selling some barbecue or something. Because again, you're there all day. So there's people coming through. You connecting with small local businesses. Um, the care for our hair was a whole experience. Would you say it was the same for you?
Yeah, it is. It's a whole marathon. And like I said, I didn't say, but I have two other sisters. So there was three of us. And one thing that I didn't want to mention when Smalls was on here, I laugh about it now, but being young and being told like, oh, your hair is nappy. My mom permed the mess out of my hair. It was a whole problem. And so we really had to grow and love our hair, and part of that was going to the salon, and I would sit at the salon, not even get my hair done, but sitting there with my mom to go get the same hairstyle. She'd get a little banana peel, they called it banana peels, and she would get the same hairstyle all the time, but she would go all the way, maybe like 40-minute drive to go get it done because she had her hairstylist that she wanted to go to. So it's definitely a community type thing when it comes to Black people and their hair. And I think it's a completely unique experience that you just had to be there to know about it. Now, these days with the new age hairstylists and all the drama that's going on about them, I don't know if the kids are getting that same experience with the way that the new hairstylists are doing their business.
But okay, speaking of new hairstylists, right? I think that's perfect. That's a perfect little segue to what I was about to ask you, Bree, or slash talk about, which is the reason that these IG, TikTok, whatever you want to call them, influencer stylists, let's say that the reason these influencer stylists are able to thrive in the first place, and that is because of just how important our hair and the maintenance of our hair is to us and our culture, right? Like you're not going to be walking around out here looking a mess. Like you're just not going to do that. I mean, it might look a mess to somebody who doesn't understand Black hair or to like your grandma, but for us, you're not going to walk around looking a mess. That's a double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, yes, we take a lot of pride in our grooming and our maintenance, going to the barbershop, going to the hair salon. And so as a result, it becomes this sort of community endeavor, this culturally significant thing, right? From the Madam C.J. Walker days to now even. I think that it is telling that the first Black millionaire was Madam C.J. Walker. And how did she get rich and famous? Or I shouldn't say famous, but how did she get wealthy? How did she build her empire? We're not going to talk about capitalism right now. We're not going to talk about Black capitalism. We'll say that for another time. I will spare y'all. This is just me acknowledging. I know. Okay. So how did Madam C.J. Walker get rich and build her empire? The hair care industry. Black hair. So I don't think that it is coincidental that the first Black millionaire, the first Black person with an empire in the US, got there from Black hair care industry. I don't think that it is a coincidence that Black hair and the maintenance of it is essentially recession proof. And what do we mean by that is even in the midst of a recession, even when we don't have anything else, it doesn't matter if you don't have a dime. You're gonna figure it out because you're not leaving the house looking a mess. So if that means you have to go to YouTube and learn how to do it yourself, that's what that means. Once again, I would like to say there is a reason I have locks, right? Like it means I don't have to do it. It means I don't have to pay to get it done. I mean, I do have to pay to get it done, but like I can go however long I need to before having to do that. And then yeah, I'll drop a couple $100 to get it done. But like I would love for both of y'all to speak to this a little bit. Like the fact that maintenance, like there's the positive sides of this, but this was born out of, like, let's not mistake. I would be remiss if I didn't say that these things, the cultural community, the cultural significance, all of this connection, the fact that it's recession proof, the fact that it made the first Black millionaire is because of necessity. It is because we didn't really have the luxury to just wash and go, to just get up and do whatever and let our hair be a mess. You know, the era when like messy hair was like in, that wasn't a thing. Back to Blue Ivy and her hair not being laid. Or what was the gymnast? I forgot the gymnast. Was that Simone Biles or was it? No, it was Gabby Douglas. Remember Gabby Douglas, who was winning Olympic medals and doing amazing things. And what was half of the Black community talking about? Her hair. Why her edges look like this? Why her this look like this? And I've seen people apologize for their edges. Oh, those edges look a mess. Oh, I'm so sorry for my edges. Girl, they look fine. They're okay. I would love for both of y'all to speak to this. Ray, go ahead, because I know you were about to say something.
Definitely. So hold on a sec. Let me rewind it. I think I lost that thought for a second.
Oh, it's fine. Do you want me to go to Bree?
Yeah, Bree, it'll come back to me.
So Bree, essentially what I was saying is, let me put it like this. Did you ever feel, and I know it's slightly different for millennials, right? Because we have a very, I don't know if it's like indignant, but we have a very like, I wish you would attitude about things. And I think that comes from us growing up being told what to expect, or that we should expect a certain thing, and then that not being the case, right? You go to school, get a degree, then you will have a job, guaranteed job security. This will happen. You'll be able to own a home. And then to come to find out, no, the boomers messed that all up, right? And so to some degree, I feel like, and part of it is like maybe we have more information at our fingertips, but a lot of it is, again, we're not just going to take the same things that our ancestors were forced to take, right? Because we have different options now. And so I would just love for you to speak to, like, did you feel any pressure? Do you ever feel, or did you at any time ever feel pressure regarding your hair and how you showed up in the world? Whether it was, okay, I have braids, but I need to make sure my braids are fresh, right? Like, not too much new growth, or not too much this, or can I put colors in them? Can I wear jewelry? And like, I would love for you to speak to that. Like, did you feel any pressure or anything?
Yeah. And so I briefly mentioned this while you were away, saying like why I can joke about the 4C hair and getting in the ring and fighting with it is because we had to go through, my mom permed the mess out of my hair. My hair was not growing. It was a mess. It did not start growing until I was in college and got away from my mom in that perm box. Okay. That's when my hair finally started growing. In high school, I went to a predominantly white school on next to the military base, but it was mainly for the military kids, lived in the suburbs. I was one of 2 or 3 Black girls on the cheerleading team. So everybody had the ponytails down their back. So I would say freshman year to junior year, my hair was straight in a ponytail, whatever. No, I guess I was kind of on and off, because then at some point I just started putting singles. When I'm saying singles, it's box braids, but back in 2009, 2008, they were calling them singles, right? But box braids essentially.
That's what they called them when I was growing up.
Yeah, and so you would see the cheerleaders and they have the long straight ponytails, or the Black girls straightening their hair, burning it all off. And I just at one point just started putting braids in it. And then when I went to college, I just had braids in, and then let my hair started go back natural. And then I had to learn how to actually do my hair, because all this time I thought it was easy to get a comb. I thought it was easy to get a comb through my hair. But it's not. Not once all the perm came out of there. It's not easy. I had to learn how to do my own hair. My sister was doing my hair at first, and then I had to get on YouTube, or not really get on YouTube, but learn how to put the braids in myself. And from then on, I was just doing my own hair. The only time where other people did my hair is like if I put a weave in, right? Did a sew-in or something like that. I don't know how to do that, but yes, it was. You did need to be acceptable. And then for those of you that don't know, I'm an AKA. And then so there's a certain, look that comes with that. And so everybody, like I said, with the sew-ins, me, not so much. I'll put some braids in my hair. That's one thing I'm going to do, is put some braids in my hair. And I got pretty good at just doing my own, like, this is my little go-to braid crown look. that I can.
Well, I was
keep.
going to ask you about that. How did you learn how? Because for some, it's like sort of passed down, right? Like doing your hair
Mhm.
is like passed down. Like you learn. I learned how to braid and cornrow from my mom. I'm not like amazing at it, but I was good enough to like do my friend's hair and him be fine, right? Don't have me. I'm not trying. I can't do all these designs and I can't do individual braids and stuff like that. But I could get by. But also, my mom doesn't love hair either. Like she currently has like her hair's about this long because she doesn't
Mhm.
love doing hair and maintenance. So that means that didn't get passed down to me. And also I don't love doing hair, so I never went and ventured out to learn. How did you learn how to, and this could be for both of y'all, because Ray, you've also had a ton of styles. How did you learn how to care for your hair? And Bree also, I don't know if you already spoke to this. And I think Ray, maybe it was probably a little bit less for you just being a guy, but when it comes to the relaxer, was that how did you why did you first get a relaxer? Was that pressure? Was that a thing that your mom said you must do? Was that a thing that you wanted to do? How did you first get to a relaxer? Because mind you, for those who don't know, before like the natural hair movement came back around in the 2000s, and really almost nobody had natural hair. Every little black girl got a relaxer at a certain age. It was just like the next thing for most people. And so I know like some people didn't really have a choice. Some people wanted it and asked for it early. I know it's kind of different for everybody, but it was sort of just like the next step in like your growing up journey. So I would love to hear from both of y'all about that. Like any pressures about like getting a relaxer or not having natural hair, having long hair. How'd you learn how to maintain it? Did you do it on your own before YouTube was a thing?
Okay. So I will answer what I was gonna, because the thought came back to me. So I'm gonna answer that and then lead into that question as well. So what I was gonna say initially was, because we mentioned though it being recession proof, and someone in the comments actually mentioned how they learned quite a bit and started dealing with a lot during the quarantine. One of the funny things I noticed, and I saw this in media and everywhere else, and even at work when I was at work, so many people were talking about especially a lot of those people that were considered essential and had to be into work. So many people I knew that were like, can't get my hair cut. So everybody, it was so normal. So many people were walking around and mentioning, that their hair wasn't maintained and stuff. I didn't see a whole lot of black folks that way, and there's an element to it though. It's because in a lot of cases, I feel like we've kind of always had to kind of figure it out. So I don't see why a quarantine would have been any different. We still had to find a way, and I can even draw that to my experience with being in the military. There are times when, and this is probably something that no one ever considers, but as a black man in the military, if you deploy, especially to a country where there ain't no black people there, you might not be able to get a haircut. But guess what? Regulation says that your hair still has to be in regs. So you have to hope that there's someone that deployed with you. Basically, we like to call them base barbers. You have to hope that somebody there, another soldier, brought some clippers with them to maintain their own hair, or you know how to cut your hair, or there's someone else there that can cut your hair. And like I said, if you are out of regs, because I mean, it's not an excuse. It's basically not an excuse if you're out of regs because you couldn't find anyone locally that can actually maintain or take care of your hair. Um, there was a situation not that long ago when I was out and about that there were some soldiers, some black soldiers that were feeling that they had to put in some EO complaints because of the fact that they were being hounded about their hair. So it's like their choice was, since there was no one there that could cut their hair, either just go ahead and shave it, get someone to shave it bald, or let somebody just jack their head up. And so these are some of the situations that we still face. Now, as far as maintaining hair, I never did place a perm on my hair, but I do know a lot of people did those curl kits or something like that, which is essentially a very similar thing. It was still chemicals. I'd done that a couple times, so yeah, I'd experienced the chemical burns. I'd had the hot comb, putting that on the stove and burning the heck out of my neck. Done all of that too. So I've definitely experienced a lot of that. But a lot of what I learned to do with maintaining my own hair, because when I had my locks, I had a loctician I went to, but a lot of things that I found and played with my own hair to figure it out. And like I said, it's simply because we kind of had to. There wasn't really a lot of space for you to just go, and it's because of the respectability politics. There wasn't a lot of space for you to just walk into these spaces and just be like, nah. Like, great example, I got a homeboy who, my best friend, but he's white, and he's done it before. We went to work one day, and he said he got up one day. I was like, okay, he came in, his hair looked a little messy to me today. He got a lot of compliments that day, so they can legit go in and kind of do like this real quick with a little bit of gel and go. And somebody's like, oh, he's kind of going for the such and such look today. We don't have that luxury. We got to put in a little bit more effort. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I think that we innately already just knew that we got to learn. We got to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, that's true. And so I guess I can answer the question too, as far as how did I learn how to do my hair? Or no, let's start with the relaxer. How did I come to get in a relaxer? I didn't really have a choice. I got a relaxer younger than the age they said was acceptable because my mom, my mom had 3 daughters. By the time my mom probably started putting relaxers in my hair, my older sister chopped hers off. At that point, she was a tomboy. She chopped her hair off. She was not dealing with it anymore. And then my little sister, she was too young to get a relaxer. So I was the one, and my mom always said, your hair fights back. Yeah, well, get a little stronger, right? And my mom's hair is a lot softer, form than all my sisters. We all got 4C hair. My mom is probably more on like the 3, a comb can go through it easier. So she started perming my hair. So I didn't really have a choice with that. And as far as learning how to do my own hair, growing up, we always had, or at least I always had, those little dolls, like they had like the dolls where it was just the head. And the only thing you can really do with it is do its hair. I think I had like a mermaid version of one, and then I think they had like the Barbie head ones. Yeah, and it's not like they had black people hair. It was still white people hair, but you could.
They had dolls with just the head. There was no body.
Nobody. So it stopped right here.
Yep.
And so it will sit like on its chest, and it's just the head.
Wait, so not like a hair, like a model thing for people to practice hair, but it was a doll that you could buy in a regular store.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a doll, but it was just the head, and the purpose was to do its hair.
Whoa, Jazzy G said, yes, I had those dolls too. I had no idea. I was the person that was like, I was a tomboy. So if people brought me a doll, I was like, what are you doing? You know better.
Yeah.
Stop trying me. And then I would take the head off. So I was like, anyways, I had no idea. I learned something new.
Took the head off.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I learned how to French braid on that doll.
Whoa. Yep, I had one. It was just the bust.
Learned how to French braid on that doll. And then, like I said, I had a relaxer for most of the time. So my mom probably stopped doing my hair around 10 years old, but she was still put a relaxer on it. So she didn't have to deal with it. Then I was straightening it up all in middle school and all the stuff. But really I already kind of had the basics of braiding and stuff by the time I got to college and really had to do my own hair. And then I just learned how to add the hair in. And yeah, if I didn't know how to do something, I would just watch YouTube. So a lot of the hairstyles that I wear now, they're like crochets and braids.
Right.
Or my regular hair, just, combed.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. That was something that we talked about as well with the invention of YouTube, right? Or which you have Janet Jackson to thank for that, by the way, Brie. I just want to let you know. Janet Jackson's the reason we have YouTube. Anyways, so with YouTube, you were able to have creators teach you how to do certain styles, teach you how to maintain it. So that education was able to go a lot further. So again, I think that goes back to millennials and the attitude that we sort of have towards things, which is you know what, forget it. I'm gonna figure it out myself. I do it myself. This recession is hidden. I do it myself. So, okay. I would love for us to, my thing is about to, okay, my bad. I would love for us to cover a a little bit more of the legal side of things while we have you here. What the heck is going on? Y'all see me struggling, fighting for my life back here with this. Okay, I quit. Anyways, the legal side of things, right? So things like the Crown Act. Bree, what are your thoughts in terms of when it comes to the Sikh articles of faith? Because Ray, I don't know if you touched on this, but Sikhs are supposed to be able to wear their turbans. They're supposed to have religious accommodations to wear your turbans, to keep beards. And even though the beards have to be, if I'm not mistaken, tied up and sort of like kept neat, whatever. So there are some regulations about it, but they're supposed to be able to do that. And yet what I now know is that it's not as straightforward as that. I know that from Ray, but also from another member of Black and Sikh, right? They've had trouble with getting and receiving and keeping those religious accommodations. And part of it is because people don't necessarily believe that they're Sikh and sort of believe that Black people are just taking advantage of the fact that Sikhs can do it. And so they're lying about being Sikh. And so just so that they can keep their beard and don't have to shave, or just so that they can wear a turban and don't have to do. So there's like a lot of assumptions with that. And so in doing like a lot like research, I realized that, again, there are no laws specifically governing Sikh's article of faith, right? And so for those who don't know, we have 5 articles of faith, and the ones that we're going to focus on today is kesh, is wearing your turban and not cutting your hair. So Sikhs are not supposed to cut their hair. And I say not supposed to, and again, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but we have been like sort of instructed to keep our hair, not cut our hair, and wear turbans every day. And then so for men, that means if you grow a beard, then you grow a beard, right? So you're supposed to keep your beard. And so there's a few things with that. One, with Black hair, it doesn't always go under the turban real smoothly, real easily, real nicely. My turban was like big as hell when I had my first set of locks. And then 2, there's the issue of like adding race as a factor, because then people don't believe that you're Sikh. I know sometimes I go to the airport. This is another reason that I don't carry kirpan. Kirpan is another article of faith, and it is basically like I call it a baby sword, but it's essentially like a dagger, a knife, whatever you want to call it. And it is one of the Sikh articles of faith. And Sikhs are supposed to be able to carry that anywhere and everywhere. Of course, when you go through TSA, you have to put that in your bag. You cannot carry that on a plane, but then you're supposed to be able to check your bag for free as a result. I don't carry a kirpan because I'm Black and I look like I look, and I just don't need any cop pulling me over or me getting into any situation where they see the dagger and I say, but I'm Sikh and this is my article of faith. And they go, sure, you're walking around with a knife, right? A giant knife. So I don't carry a kirpan. So we have all of these other factors, right, that come into play, which made me wonder the question of today's stream. Everything that we've talked about thus far is to really get to this question. Do we think that Sikhs need legislation specifically to protect us regarding our articles of faith and being able to practice our religion freely in the way that we're supposed to, the way that we are instructed to and directed to? Do we need laws specifically for that? Because the laws that we have right now are, yes, thanks to our ancestors, Black people fighting in the past for rights and for freedoms. And so we have them to thank for the laws that we do have. And finding out that folks like Ray and Neek and other people are still struggling to be able to practice our faith the way that we're supposed to, the way that, the Constitution says we have a right to, is just really mind-boggling. And so I guess my question is, like, in the same way that we got the Crown Act to protect us in our natural hair, do we need that for Sikhs? Is that something that's reasonable? Is that how would we go about that? Like, what would be the first steps? Like, what I would just kind of love to hear, like, your thoughts on that in general, Bree. Like, legal ramifications, legal protections, legal recourse. How do we make it so that the same protections we got with the Crown Act, we as Sikhs and other Sikhs also have these protections and don't have to fight so hard to do what we're supposed to be able to do according to the Constitution?
Can I add one thing to your question too? Because I wrote it down because I want to ask Bree this as well, and it relates perfectly. There are also a lot of people out there that feel like, hey, we already have this law, so why do we need this one for this specific group of people? Can you touch on that as well with that?
Yeah, and so that one I'll pose a question and then I'll answer. And this is not my area of law or anything like that to know like whether it's going to go forward or it's not going to go forward, but just being in the law. My question would be, if you did have this law for protection, do you really think that it would protect you? Because we talk about having the Crown Act, we talk about having the other religions that which they're allowed to wear their turbans as well. If those already exist, like Array just said, is having another law basically saying something very similar going to help you any further? And my answer to that, with being a lawyer, I'm going to say no, because whether it's a law or not, there are certain workplaces that are still going to discriminate. There are certain workplaces that are going to say they're not discriminating, but find a way to basically take that right from you. But if you do want to go about getting a law enacted, you need lawsuits. So you need to first go through the discrimination so that you can then sue your employer under civil rights, under breach of employment law, all of those things, or wrongful termination. Or the other option is to then lobby the government and try to get some bills pushed in that way. So I know it's important to have those protections, but just like people are not supposed to discriminate against us based on race, we're still filling out job applications telling them that we're Black. Or if your name is,
Keisha
Fitzgerald, right? And you go in and you look like me, they're gonna be like,
oh yeah. I have what I have been told is a white boy's name, which I won't disagree with that, but like my government name, like first and last, because one of the last name, it might be both of them, but I know for sure one of them was like a slave master name, so that's a white name. And then first name being Cameron. The number of times people have been like, oh, I'm looking for Cameron. And I'm like, that's me. And they're like, oh, no, I'm looking for Cameron who's applying for this job. And I'm like, that's me. Then they're like,
what I'm doing here?
What? And I'm like, I'm not a white boy. Like, my application was my application. Like, I'm here.
Listen, I can relate.
You're right about that.
I can relate. My full name, same thing. That does not read like a Black man.
Yeah. So I asked the same question, Bree, that you just posed, and this is again why I really wanted to hear from like an attorney. And so for those who don't know, this is not Bree's like area of expertise. So keeping that in mind. So my thing was this. So I guess the answer that I came up with was like yes and no, right? Yeah. And the reason I said that was because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, you have a law in place, so you should be fine now. Like you're good to go, right? And that's not how that works. The first time I got fired from a job, it was actually the first and last time, because it impacted me and affected me in a way that I was like so not ready for. It was like so jarring that I was like, you don't have to worry about that again. I'll be working for myself. And I have ever since. I worked for myself before then too, but it was Guitar Center actually, and they needed me to stand for whatever. Imagine me sitting at a desk. That's essentially what I was doing. I was booking the music lessons and handling that. So imagine there's a desk and you would normally sit at a desk, right? But they wanted me to stand, which would have been weird because the desk was like way down here. I don't know why they wanted me to stand. Part of me, the more I like reflect on it, the more I'm like, I think they just didn't expect me to come in for the interview when they saw my application and all that stuff. And then the person who hired me was not the same person who was like the store manager. And I had problems with him from jump. So I just feel like, and I was in Pasadena, if anybody knows about Pasadena. And so I just feel like they were like, that's not who we were expecting. And that's not really who we want. And just started giving me a hard time from the jump. And so I'm saying all this to say, the moment that they said, oh, you need to be standing up. And I was like, at a desk? Why would I be standing? This weird. How can I do my job and like stand? That's kind of, and then I said, well, I can't really stand for 8 hours straight. Like my hips don't allow it. I have sickle cell, like da-da-da-da. And they were like, that's unfortunate. We would really love to have you a part of this team, but you need to be standing up. Like, and again, in the moment, I wasn't thinking about what he was saying, but he was saying exactly the right words. It was like verbatim from the text, right? He was saying what he needed to say to protect himself legally. And long story short, they ended up letting me go, not for that reason. They gave some other reason that was absolutely bogus, but fighting it. I called several attorneys and they ultimately told me was, it's going to be a hell of a fight. You would have to prove this. And then he did a lot of shady things where I would email him and then he would respond in person. Right. Yeah. So I would tell him, hey, I need to be off for this doctor's appointment. And then he would come up to me in person and say, oh, no problem. And then it would be, oh, you missed this shift at work. No, I got it approved. He said it was fine. You heard him. Yeah, but in the email, you don't have proof that I said that was okay. Excuse me, what? right? So like things like that were happening that I didn't catch because I, again, thinking the best of everybody. So when I incited like ADA law, which I did, I said, well, ADA law says that if I can do the job and you can give me a reasonable accommodation and I can still do that job, then you have to allow me to do that. And he said, yes, we would love to have you here, but unfortunately, and he just kept saying this script over and over. And in the moment, I couldn't figure out why. And it wasn't until I talked to an attorney that he said, oh, he was reciting X. He was doing this is part of this policy. He did everything he needed to do to protect himself legally, and he still effed me over. Right. And so that's why I say yes and no, because I think Bree is absolutely right in that you can have all the laws in the world and you will always have people who will try to either find a way around it or discriminate in spite of. And then another important part is that this is something I try to remind people who don't have disabilities or chronic illnesses. A lot of times, like if I deal with something with a hospital, with a nurse, somebody will jump to, you need to report them. You need to do something about that. You need to tell somebody. You need to do whatever. The suggestion inevitably requires more labor from me. It requires me to not only relive whatever the thing was, the traumatic event or the difficult thing, but then to do more and more labor, physical, emotional, psychological labor, to then report this person, whether it's to the board or to the state or to their boss or to the hospital. It just requires more labor. And more often than not, I just say, forget it. F it, because I just don't have the spoons to do it. Like I want to, if I try to like tell a particular friend this who just did not get it, but like if I reported every single incident of discrimination or malpractice, medical malpractice or whatever, that's the only thing I would be doing with my life, is just reporting stuff and following up on it. Right.
Following up is the big part.
And following it up is the big part. Bree is absolutely right? Because you can report it, do whatever. And if you don't follow up, it just is what it is. But between being Black, between being queer, between being disabled and having a chronic illness, like the number of ways that I'm like, I could be facing potential discrimination. I wonder what it is today. That's not what I want my life to look like. I don't want my life to just be reporting it and following up on discrimination. Yeah. So I think Bree's right in that we can have all the laws in the world, but that still sort of puts the onus on us to do that work. The one caveat, the one thing that I will say that would make me, I wouldn't be against us having a law specifically anyways. Right. The one thing that I would say is that there have been instances where somebody knowing that a law exists has been enough to sort of curb their treatment or their decision or impact their decision or whatever. Not always. I have seen it play out where it's somebody goes, oh, don't forget about the ADA. And then they go, oh, that's right. Okay, let me go back and fix this. Let me go back and correct this. And oftentimes it's around things about like accessibility. Like I will say, hey, we need to make sure that's accessible. And they go, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I don't think we have that many disabled, whatever. And I go, that doesn't matter. The ADA says you need to do X. And they go, oh, that's right. Okay. I want to be in compliance with the ADA. So I've seen that happen, but like, I don't know that that's the majority, or I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on that.
And the other question would be, people might be a little bit more willing to fix things for disabled people, but are they going to be as willing to fix things for like a religion or, a faith, right? So
especially one that isn't Christianity in a Christian nation, despite the fact that we're supposed to have separation of church and state. We see that they just declared IVF embryos entire people. We're not going to get on that today, but my point is, even though we say we have a separation of church and state, we really don't. Even though we say we are not technically a Christian nation, we really are. So yeah, that's another point, Bree. Are people going to be willing to just blow past it because it's a sick law? It's a law for Sikhs, and who cares about them? I think sickle cell is a prime example of that. It impacts, like by sheer numbers, it is either the 1 or 2 most common genetic illness in the US. Like, listen to what I'm saying. By sheer numbers, it is the most common. And the only reason I'm not sure is because I'm not sure if it went to the number 2 spot. But either way, one of the most common genetic illnesses in the US. Has that mattered? No. Why? Because the people affected are overwhelmingly Black. Over 90% of the people who have sickle cell are Black. So yes, by sheer numbers, we have more numbers in terms of like we are the largest population of those impacted by a genetic illness, and the federal government and pharmaceutical companies and whoever else is in charge of research, they have not cared because the people impacted are Black. And I imagine it would be very similar, if not the exact same or worse, for Sikhs, for a religious minority.
What I want to say to that too, one of the things that I know that I experienced because you touched on a couple of times and you said we'd kind of get there as well, is when looking into, like we said, for accommodations. Well, I'm stepping into a situation and I'm tying this into mentioning a majority Christian nation, country as well. So the way that the process looks for accommodations in the military to wear our articles of faith is to submit documentation. That documentation generally has to go through our HR. Our HR gets with our commander. The commander then gets with the chaplain. The chaplain then reaches out for you to have an interview. And in that interview, that chaplain needs to decide whether or not they think that what you're saying, you're professing as your faith is in fact genuine. And if they decide that they believe that it's genuine, then they will get back with the commander from that point forward. And then they'll send it up a little bit higher. The process is supposed to take about 90 days. It's been 2 years for me. I say that because one of the things that I feel like that comes into play that's a little bit different for me is I'm a Black man. And first off, when I even went to, because I actually do like the chaplain that I have, and he is all about trying to help me with that. He gave me all the steps that I need. The problem is everyone else in between him, and it actually getting to him to start the process. That's where all my stuff has been consistently tied up in. And so the funny thing is, that's aside from the fact that my chaplain didn't even know what a Sikh was. Never heard of it.
That could be common too. It's like you said, it's a minority faith. So a lot of people might not even know what it is and might think you might be making something up there too.
But I would think a chaplain, would you not be just like I told Ray, right? Like if I'm a producer on a project, it is my job to know a little bit about everything, right? Like I'm not saying he needs to be an expert on SIKHI, but what do you mean you don't know what I would just imagine that if you want the role of chaplain, which is not, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, the role of chaplain is not to be the priest or not to be it is to be the religious or the faith person, like that point of contact, right? So you're supposed to know about multiple faiths, not just one in particular. Like you have your own faith and that's fine, but you're not just here for one religion. So if that's the case, I would imagine you should at least at the very, like imagine a doctor coming into a room, you're in the ER and I'm like, I'm here for issues with sickle cell. And they go, oh, sickle cell. I think I've heard of that, but I'm not sure. I'll be right back.
Well, they do that.
I use that example. Because that has happened to me, right? That happened to me when I went to DC. So it happens, but it's easy to see how ridiculous that is. Like it should not happen. And I would imagine like
it sounds like most of his issue is with not necessarily the chaplain. He seems to be helpful. It's more with like the commanders and maybe like the lieutenants or whoever has to then approve what he says.
I would argue it is with the chaplain though, because if the chaplain, I would argue it is with the chaplain, because if the chaplain is supposed to be your point of contact or your advocate, how can they advocate for you if they don't really have a good understanding of what you're dealing with, right? Like I can't advocate for somebody and I don't understand that, oh, race may be playing a factor here. Right. Or because I very much believe it is, right. Just talking to the Sikhs I know who are in the military who are not Black versus those who are, there's a stark difference and there's a lot of similarities with those who are Black. Right. And so, a lot of people will try to like deny or discount the experiences that we have, but like everybody can't be making this up. And so I would imagine that like if your job is to advocate, if your job is to be that point of contact, but you don't have a good grasp or understanding of what's happening, how can you really be a good advocate? Because if you don't understand that this shouldn't be taking 2 years, but it's taking 2 years, it might be taking 2 years because of this factor and this factor and this factor, right? Like, how can you overcome those issues or those barriers or those hurdles if you're not even aware that they exist?
And see, that it's a part of that is on that person, but some of it can be the way that things are structured as well. I say that because here's a great example. If you are lower enlisted, it is your duty initially to reach out to your chain of command. Everything has to go through your chain of command first. So if I gave this over to my direct chain of command and then initially, and they helped me send everything over and it goes to HR and HR does nothing to it and never gave it to the commander. That's what happened initially. Then we get back from where we were And then I try to go through it again, being told by my leadership, which there is some issues with my leadership. There has been for a long time. But anyway, that's besides the point. Get it over to them. And this time, even though they're generally always saying, oh, no, everything has to come through me. This time, they're like, oh, just send it to this person in HR. I send it to that person in HR, and I hear nothing. So then I'm like, okay, well, I've been told
But
not
to
to
me,
go.
that goes back to the fact that you're supposed to have an advocate, and that your advocate doesn't even know what you need.
Yep.
That's the point I'm making. Like,
Yep.
I get all of that. I get red tape and bureaucracy, and that's the problem. That actually feeds right back into the point I'm making, which is you're supposed to have an advocate. You're supposed to have somebody that is helping you fight, so you don't have to do all of this on your own. And that person ain't even fully equipped to do it. Ain't even fully equipped to handle it. Like, so what are you saying right now? And to me, and I'm so glad you said this, because prior to that, I was like very much where Bree was, right? Where I was like, yeah, I don't really think we need a law because we have the Civil Rights Act and we have this, that. But the more that you speak and the more that you hear, the more that I'm hearing what you're saying, the more I'm like, no, wait, maybe we do need a specific law, because I feel like laws aren't just about like preventing things, but they're also about having legal recourse, right? They're about sort of like simplify. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just what I've come to understand since I've been like nerdy and deep into law too, right? But it's about like having legal recourse when things do happen, because we know that they don't necessarily prevent discrimination, but now if you do have this specific law, now we have an avenue to seek recourse or to seek corrections or justice or whatever, right? And so it also, the other thing that they do, and I'm thinking of a specific incident. I don't know if you guys remember the Megan's Law was it. And this kind of just came back in the news with Megan Thee Stallion, because she included it in those lyrics, right? Y'all not mad at me, y'all mad at Megan's Law. And the dad was really mad about it, but really I think that was his anti-blackness showing up. We won't go there. But I think the thing is, Megan's Law, that law just existing sort of inherently provides some education, right, for the general public. Right. So even hearing Megan's Law, then people go, oh, what's Megan's Law? And then now you go look that up, and now you go, oh, there's this thing, right? Same thing for the Crown Act. The Crown Act passed. Well, what is the Crown Act? Oh, it's to protect Black people when it comes to natural hair. Wait, they were having issues with that? Because how many people do you know that are still surprised by the things that happen to us that pop off in the news, right? And so I've seen the Crown Act sort of be an opportunity or like a conversation starter to say, like, yeah, this law exists because we're still having problems. People are still getting fired for having natural hair. People are still cutting off boys' locks before wrestling matches. People are still telling 7-year-olds in Texas that they can't come to school because of their natural hair. Like, this is still happening in 2024. That's why this law exists, right? So I wonder, and this is, I'm posing a question. Given all of that, given all that laws do and have the potential to do, including educating and increase awareness and opportunities for legal recourse, I'm wondering if those things alone don't make it worth it to have or maybe pursue a law that is specific to Sikhi. Because the other problem, Brie, I don't know if you know this, unlike like with Christianity, you have this sort of command to proselytize, right? Like, you go out, you spread the good news, you spread the gospel, you go on mission trips, you go save souls. And Sikhi is the direct opposite of that. Like, we are told we do not proselytize. We are not here to save or convert people. And that's why you won't ever hear that from us, right? Like, we're really talking about our experiences. We don't even do a lot of educating about Sikhi in particular, unless it's necessary for the topic that we're discussing. But that's because we don't proselytize. We don't go out trying to convert, trying to persuade people, trying to quote unquote save people. We very much believe in religious freedom. You do what works best for you. If that is not Sikhi, that's okay. And so the, I guess, downside of that is that there isn't a lot of awareness. There isn't a lot of education. People don't know much about it. People do make assumptions based on what they see. And so, so that's my question to y'all. Is it worth it? Or like, how much would these other factors play into us having a law or pursuing some type of legislation that is specific to Sikhs, that isn't just civil rights in general?
Sorry,
is it me? Okay. I was like, is it me? Or I can't hear.
No, I was just saying, don't get me wrong. I do think that a law can be beneficial, but then Kimmy has a comment in here of what's the risk of having the recourse versus people just getting sneakier with the discrimination. Or when Ray was talking, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe his thing is taking so long because the higher ups are like, I'd rather not deal with it and try to figure out, okay, what can he do? Now I have to go and do all of this research and figure out what he can do and what he can't do. And also, if it's just one person that's asking for these accommodations versus the 29 other people that he may be working with, do we really want to deal with that and people feeling like, oh, well, this person has favoritism or whatever it may be, i.e., girls, white people trying to wear box braids now, right? So, just trying to be able to fit in. And now all of a sudden, maybe Jaquan, who's not Sikh, but decided that he likes the turban that Ray has, is now going to come and say he's Sikh. And so if Ray is the first one coming forward asking for these accommodations in this particular religion, I'm wondering if the higher ups are just trying to delay it as much as possible so they don't have to deal with it and so that they don't have to learn about it. Not saying that it's the right course of action, but some people are just like, I'd rather not just hire this type of person, like you were talking about with Guitar Center. I'd rather just not hire this person so then I don't have to deal with it. Same thing with Black people. Okay, I thought Brianna was coming in and she was going to be a white girl and she's not, so I'm just not going to hire her because I don't want to have to deal with if she comes in with braids and that's not our image or whatever it may be. So I don't know if that answers your question, and I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but it will be a battle trying to bring it forward. Not saying you're probably still going to have problems, honestly.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, because we're going to wrap up here in just a second, if I'm hearing you correctly, Bree, it sounds like it's complicated, right? That it's not just as simple as should we or shouldn't we, and let's go try to do it, but that there are a number of things to consider, including it blowback or it backfiring or any unintended negative consequences, which it kind of reminds me of something that I believe it was Angela Davis said in the book Struggle for Freedom. I can't remember if it was Angela Davis, but I believe it was her who talked about when it comes to institutional issues, and I think this is probably a good wrap up to this entire conversation. When it comes to institutional and systemic issues, the reason, by their very nature, they are the issues are built into the systems that sort of govern our lives daily, right? And so when it comes to, this is me trying not to use the word white supremacy because I know it scares a lot of people and turns a lot of people off because they hear white supremacy and they think KKK, and that's not what I'm talking about. But my point is, racism, discrimination, it is deeper than just individual one-on-one people being mean and having their feelings hurt. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about oppression and systemic and institutional issues. And so something that, again, I believe it was Angela Davis said was that the system will continue to reinvent itself. And I think this is something that somebody else said, Upside Down was sort of alluding to this. They break every law they write. They cut Native Americans' hair and sent kids to boarding schools, which I think is just a really succinct way of saying that the oppressive systems will always find a way to sort of protect itself. And a lot of the things that we're dealing with are by design, not their features, not flaws, right, of the system. And so we have to be mindful that a lot of times anytime we buck against the system and we push back and we try to change it, it will sort of reinvent itself to protect itself. And I think one example of this that fits into Bree being here is mandatory minimums versus maximum law. So the example that was given was they wanted mandatory minimums. That's what I'm trying to say. Mandatory maximums. I'm sorry. Mandatory maximums, where they were saying, judges were giving all kind of sentences for this same particular issue. Depending on who was in front of them, they might have got 20 years to life versus this person was like, we'll give you probation, right? It was just this wide range of things and there was no consistency. And so a number of people in pushing for reform, criminal justice reform, pushed for mandatory maximums for certain issues. So that way, if you have a particular issue in front of you, you cannot get more than this. So you have this mandatory maximum. And the system then said, okay, we'll give you mandatory maximums, but we also don't give you mandatory minimums. So now that took sort of some of the power out of the judge's hands to say, you know what, I would probably give you probation because I really do think that was just a mistake. I think that was a one-off chance. But guess what? Now we have it baked into this law. I can't give you less than 2 years. And I'm giving you some arbitrary numbers, but what I'm saying about these mandatory minimums and maximums is true. The reason that we have mandatory minimums now, where judges can't use their own discretion to maybe give somebody probation who would otherwise deserve it, is because we pushed for reform in the form of mandatory maximums. And so that's something that I had not considered, Bree, that I'm really grateful that you mentioned, because yeah, I think it's more complicated than I initially thought. Like, I'm not saying that I thought it was like super easy and it's like, give us a law, we deserve a law. Like, I know it's not like that, but it's just more complex in a way that I had not thought about.
And you have to have somebody willing to even bring it forward and use that much energy to go through the court systems, because we watch these cases on our channels. They take a long time to get to the trial part of it.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not a simple thing. It's going to take time. Yeah, like I think we're just starting to see some of the fruits of the labor of our own ancestors, right? Who fought so long and so hard. Many of whom, you know, died before they got the chance to see those things come to fruition. So you're right. I appreciate this. I would love to continue this conversation forever, because you know I could talk about all things Black and all things related to all of this, Black hair and Black culture and forever, but I'm not gonna do that. We about to let Bree go. We're gonna get into some questions here in just a bit. I'm gonna let Bree leave in just a second. There's one thing I do. There's one comment, last comment, Bree, which is, and I think we sort of answered this already, but which is why I'm saying this. How do you guys balance the benefits of increased legal protections and recourse against the risk of discrimination becoming sneakier and harder to identify as people hide in the shadows of loopholes? And I think that's exactly what Bree was talking about, right? You know, balancing those pros and the cons, like weighing out the benefits and then the potential blowback. And I don't know that I have an answer for that right now. And even if I do, like, I don't want to get into it right now, but I think that's an amazing question. Like, how do we balance, okay, the benefits of increased awareness, not even just legal protections or recourse, but also increased awareness? Because again, the more you sort of bring awareness to things, the more people get mad and push back and blah, blah, blah. So I think that's something that we should probably seek to answer, right? Like, as we continue to do this project, you know what I mean? I don't know if you're talking, but you're muted.
Oh, I can say something to it because, as I mentioned earlier, I'd kind of been through a little bit of that very recently myself. When you mentioned how sometimes you just don't want to do the labor, I had someone do something in my workplace that was very wrong. Something that definitely could have had legal ramifications. But the problem is, because of the way that the structure is set up, the person that did this thing to me is also best friends with another person that's also over me. And so then that ties into me actually doing something to this person, doing all this work and actually holding them accountable, means that this other person that's actually over me, even if that person gets punished, can still do something. And yes, people can tell you, oh yeah, but you're protected against retaliation. But the thing is, I'm a 34-year-old man. I understand that there are ways to retaliate without it technically being considered retaliation.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So if I'm not mistaken, Bree, you got to get out of here, right?
Yes, I do have to go. Thank you for having me. This was a very interesting conversation. I was a bit nervous, like, am I going to know the answers? But I'm happy that you invited me here.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. So I got to say this, I'm sort of like putting you on the spot, but are you willing to like come back and have another conversation, whether it's about this or something else?
Yeah, no, I had a really good time. So let me know, you know, life is busy, but as long as you
life be lifing.
And as much advance as possible, then I should be able to do it. And also going to figure out how to, I know how to download an app, but figure out how to use Discord so that we don't have to go through Kimmy next time.
Amen. Amen to that. All right. So anybody who's watching over on Bree's channel, I was actually one of those people. I was watching from Bree's channel. We're going to go through some of these questions. We also have the giveaway coming up with Yaya Silver. We got some jewelry that we're giving away, some authentic sterling silver jewelry. And we're going to go through these questions. So we do have a little bit more time. So if you are watching on Bree's channel, you want to come on and hop over here because Bree is about to dip. We definitely appreciate your time, Bree. I appreciate not just your time, but your effort, your energy, your emotional labor, you know, the intellectual labor that you gave us tonight. I'm so grateful for it because, you know, I'm a fan. I'm probably like your number one fan. You know, don't matter what Kimmy say. I'm your number one fan. Okay? Me. Okay, maybe like 2 or 3, because maybe Alpha and then like maybe but then I'm right after them. Okay, thank you.
No, I love it.
To declare that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I appreciate Smalls. And yeah, if you guys are watching over on my channel, make sure you come over onto Black is Sick and subscribe and hit the like button so that they can get some action in the algorithm as well.
Hey, thank you for that. And you also said it perfectly. Black and sick. You said it
I
perfectly.
learned. You taught me.
Hey.
You taught me.
I don't
Hey,
be
that's what's up.
in these YouTube streets that heavily, so I hadn't came across yet. But you have a new subscriber. I will be checking you out.
Thank you. Thank
Mhm,
you.
mhm. Amen.
Well, y'all
All right.
have a good night. I'll watch on
Thank
the
you, Bree.
replay, and I will see you
Tomorrow?
tomorrow on my
Tomorrow.
stream that I have to go catch up on the trial. So,
Amen.
yeah, have a good night. I'll see y'all later.
All right. See you tomorrow, Bree.
Bye.
All right. So we got, let's see. There we go. All right, so let's get through some of these questions, comments, thingies, and then we got the giveaway coming. So this live stream, if we haven't mentioned it, which I don't think we have, is sponsored by Yeah Silver. Well, no, I did actually mention that. It's sponsored by Yeah Silver, who has been so kind enough and so gracious to donate quite a number of items. The thing is, like, I was going to just get anyways, I was thinking like a couple, right? And she was like, I got like 10 things if you want them. And I was like, girl, what? Oh, these are similar. I actually have a pair of these. I don't know if you guys can see these, but these are actually this is not I actually purchased a pair of these from her a while back. So these are earrings. Again, all of this is genuine sterling silver, which is important. And I keep bringing up because for those who don't know, some people are allergic to certain metals. And I know that because I'm one of them. And it took me quite a while to figure that out. Not quite a while. I mean, like as a kid, it took a while, but I didn't know now. So because I'm allergic to nickel and I'm allergic to a couple of metals. So I can only actually wear certain metals. And sterling silver is one of them. So yeah, so we've got a number of pieces here, earrings. We have some sets, so like necklace and earring sets. We've got some earrings. Some have like safety locks. So if you have like any babies in your life, we have some that are like safe for babies. I don't know if you guys know the difference, but some jewelry is not necessarily infant safe. So we do have some that are infant safe. And here's the thing: we're gonna choose some winners, and then you're actually gonna be able to choose your prize. So like we're not gonna say like this prize is for. We're gonna like choose giveaway winners, and then you're gonna contact us on our system. You're going to contact us, and then we're going to let you choose from the prizes that we have, and we'll do that on like a first come first serve basis. So and then we also have, what am I missing, right? We have the jewelry from Yeah Silver. We have at least one electronic item, some like random stuff. So this is also the thing when it comes to, again, we haven't gone into depth, but there are things happening in Congo, Sudan, Tigray, just like there are in Palestine, and so we are trying to not consume new electronics. That's part of the, not allyship, the solidarity is to not consume new electronics, because one of the resources that is in electronics that's really central to the conflict that's happening over there in the Congo. So we're trying to be mindful of that. The goal is keep the electronics you have, keep the laptop, keep the whatever. Try not to upgrade right now, because one of the biggest ways and most important ways to protest is through your dollars. And if you don't believe that that's true, then I would encourage you to do some research on South African apartheid, so that you know something just started playing randomly. Okay. Sorry. So that you know that college students pushing their colleges to divest from South Africa was a huge part of bringing apartheid to an end. And so we know that boycotting and things of that nature are really important, and contribute to sort of bringing these conflicts to an end. So we are trying not to do that. And so I have some electronics that I was either going to sell or return, like just like random stuff that like I either purchased, bought, was given to me, like from art supplies to all kind of stuff. So we're going to let you choose. That's my point that I'm making. And that's why we're including electronics, because that probably seems random, because you're probably like, what? Why are you including random electronics? It's because this is my way of trying to like help with us not buying new electronics. All right, let's go to some of these comments real quick. Let's see. Kimmy so graciously starts some of these for us. Sorry about that. Nissa Howard said hi, Bree. History is a kick some in the ass sometimes. I'm not 100% sure what that says. But if it's saying what I think it's saying, I agree. Yeah, we talked about this. How much do cops pull POCs over compared to Black people? We talked about that when we were having the POC versus Black people conversation, which our conclusion was just say Black. You don't need to lump us all together. Just say Black. Deacon Fatal also said it also depends where you're from. In California, it might be less than Alabama. I have thoughts on that as somebody who has been assaulted by the cops. Was assaulted by the cops in Arkansas, but I've also had other issues with that. Like I said, my brother was murdered by the police, and that happened in Oakland, California. So And my bad. I realized, you know, sometimes like when you're so used to saying something, you kind of just like slide right by it. So I realized I just was like, oh yeah, my brother was murdered. Like, my apologies. I should have gave you guys a warning for that. It's just because I'm just so used to saying it. It's not me trying to like, you know, make it a throwaway comment. Google Scholar is my bestie. What is that? Is that an app? Google Scholar? Do we know? Right now, I haven't looked at the data yet. However, I would love to look at the current data in the U.S. for all people that would be considered foreign. From IG, I don't think it's changed much. Think about Isabella Wilkerson cast The Origins of Our Discontent. I think this has to do with yes, there we go. Okay.
You're talking about when you're in India. Yeah.
This is interesting. I actually highlighted this. Isabella Wilkerson. If you guys do not know Isabella Wilkerson, oh, I know what this is about. I know what this is about because I now know because I know exactly what this is about. Isabella Wilkerson. If you don't know who that is, I would highly encourage you to check her out. Right. Cast The Origins of Our Discontent. I think that's the name of her book. But either way, she's got a couple videos on Instagram. There's a couple clips out there. She does talk about caste systems, but she talks about the various ways that caste show up and how similar it is to like racism and things of that nature. And I actually highlighted that and I bookmarked it to play here. We just had so much like content that we needed to get through that I decided to save it for something else. But it is in our bookmarks because I've seen that clip multiple times. And if you don't know Isabella Wilkerson, you should definitely look her up. She's got some. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Exactly. Caste and colorism are woven together 100%. Absolutely. It has to do with, again, signifiers, right? Like the color of your skin being a signifier, and it supposedly meaning that you were in the field or that you work more outside because you're darker skinned or whatever, which it's not really how melanin works, but whatever. That's that on that. We have freedom from religion as far as I knew. What were you saying?
I was about to say, and the funny thing is, like we kind of mentioned when we were there too, it's global because I had a friend a while back that would talk to me about that. Surprisingly enough, that was part of the reason he left Jamaica because of casteism and things like that over even in Jamaica, and that blew my mind. I was like, what?
Absolutely, it's global. It's a global issue. It's not just a U.S. one. I believe this TikTok is for the artist. It's for the Judy Singh video. Thank you, Kimmy, for that. Again, I'm just kind of like breezing through, like just blowing through these. Maybe that's not the best verb I should have used. Anyways, this is what supremacy does. And see, the problem is I can't see them before I click on them. It's because my mouse is in the way.
Oh, that was to me when we were talking about my hair and the press out.
Oh, okay. This says, this is Bree. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bree, but aren't Sikhs allowed to wear their turbans in uniform? Cops. So both of us can actually answer that. The answer is yes. Is it a simple answer? No.
Yeah, the next comment actually answered that and confirmed the right answer to that.
There you go. Yes, but you have to go through a 6-month vetting process at Tegan Fatal. Alan Clemens, thank you for that. Alan is somebody who left a comment recently on one of our videos and is how we found that there's so many Black Sikhs in the military, which I think is pretty awesome. Alan, I don't know if you're down. I don't know if you're still listening, but I would love to have you on sometime. I would love to just have a conversation, even if you never come on a live, because I just heard like a couple things about you. Ray, have you talked to Alan yet? Have you gotten a chance?
I have their Insta. I made sure today when they popped up, I was like, yo, I couldn't find them when I was trying to find them. So I was like, yo, how can I reach you? So they followed me on Insta and sent me a message.
Okay, cool. Alan says, I'm going through that process now in the Army. Got you. Let's see. This says member of the jury. I love that username. White and Gen X here. I love TikTok for showing how much time Black hairstyles take to maintain and how Black culture views hair. I hope more people see Black styles as acceptable and meaningful. Love that. Yeah. And again, that's why I love TikTok. And that's also why I call TikTok the hood, right? Me calling it the hood has absolutely nothing to do with race or culture. It just has to do with sort of like how the hood functions, right? Which like people be like, oh, it's dangerous, oh, it's wild there, oh, it's whatever, and me being like, yeah, but there's gems there. Like there are things that you can get in the hood that you can't get nowhere else, right? Like I would much rather go to a beauty supply store in the hood than I would Target or whatever to get my stuff. Like, again, we can have a whole conversation about the hood, but yeah, that's why I call it that, because there's just so many gems there. And it's like, if you can get through the wild, wild west, if you can sort of navigate it and figure out how to navigate it, TikTok is amazing. With that said, I'm gonna stay on Instagram, but or actually I'm gonna stay on YouTube, but I do like TikTok for that. Thank you for that. I don't know, Ray. Do you know what this is? This might be something else. She preached with that hair, and did she preach? I don't know. That must have been something you said. Um, well, he's not paying attention. Okay, let me go to the next one. So
Oh
this
no,
brings
no,
us.
I didn't know what that was in relation to when I saw it come up either.
Okay, this brings up a question for me. I've noticed that I don't get that type of action being 40, and I'm sure I would get them when I was 20. 40, as in years? Deacon, you're not 40, are you? Anyways, I don't need to dwell on that. That's not the point. But I just shocked. I thought we were just like, okay.
Okay.
This is the problem. This is the problem with black people. You never know how old somebody is, right? You could be talking to somebody for 10 years, and then you find out they're 50 years older than you, and you'd be like, "Ma'am, you are old enough to have grandkids, and I thought you were younger than me," right? Like that's just how it be. Because one, they don't be
Mhm.
looking their age. They don't. Everybody black sound like damn near sound like they got an old soul, especially millennials and Gen X sound like they got an old soul. So the number of people that I have spoken to that are black, that especially black women that I have thought are much much older than me or much much younger than me or might. It's wild. You never know anybody's age. You never know. Okay. Deacon Fatal said I wore faux locks for about a year. Then my supervisor loved them, so she got locks, and I was like, "Let's go." Yeah. I hit the like button on both streams. Thank you for that, Tanya D. I appreciate that. Tanya D, I think is a moderator of the channel.
I
Appreciate all
really,
your effort
really
and work.
recognize
Same
her
thing with
name.
Deacon Fatal. You recognize Tanya D's name?
I do. She must do something else. I recognize. Yeah, I really do.
Tanya D is I'll tell you what I know about Tanya D. I'm in a group chat with Tanya D. She is one of the moderators for Bree's channel, but you don't watch Bree's channel, so I don't think that it's from that. I also know she's a crafter, she's a creator, she's a very creative person, very talented person. So I don't know if you know her from that, like from her I don't know why you would know Tanya
Possibly
D,
because
but
I'm kind of
she's a
into
really cool
crafts
person.
too. That might be
Yeah.
what it is.
She's a really, really cool person. So let's see. See these we can all the laws. Okay. I don't think some of these need to be. I'm trying to see which one of these I really need to. Oh yeah, here's one. This is a good one. Black eyed peas were hidden in hair and laid of a trail so that to let when we were trying to leave. I think this is about the function of black hair and how black hair has functioned and is in something, in addition to just like surface level beauty, right? It's just, it has been also functional. It is yes, signified status and your identity with a tribe and things of that nature, but it has also literally just been functional in that you can put crops and seeds and black eyed peas and things in your hair so that if you traveled or went somewhere else, you still had those crops and seeds. And so, yeah. Spirit of the trees, thank you for being here. Spirit of the tree says hello, beautiful souls. Hello to you. It's been a minute. I haven't seen you in I think it's usually Bree's chat I see you in. A lot of us folks in law too, we kind of all watch the same creators, so sometimes it's like difficult to remember like whose chat did I see you in last? Like who was it? Natalie Lawyer chick? Was it who was yeah, anyways. 4C for the win. Yep. Amen to that. Tiny D says the front of my hair is 4C and it be fighting the power. That's the other thing about black hair, which I don't know that I don't think this is specific to black hair, but I know it's much more likely to happen if you have curly hair where you have multiple hair types in one hair. Like, so I always like kind of tell people I have like, 3 this here and I have 3C here and 3B. Yeah. So that happens. I understand that. I think like the front of my hair is like 2B, and that's why I can never get my hair to lay down. I'm gonna put it like this, and anybody in the audience who is black will understand this, and those who have like seen black hair or dealt with it will understand this. I've had locks since I was, that won't be relevant if you don't know how old I am. So I would just say I've had locks since 2001, maybe something like that, 2001, on and off. Like I've had this like my 4th set of locks, but I have never, not once, gotten a loctician who was able to lay down my edges and they stay laid down longer than an hour. It has never, ever happened. No product, no person. And the reason I'm saying that is because every single person thinks they will be the one. They go, you just haven't used the right product. You just haven't done it right. You just haven't this. You just haven't that. And I go, you just haven't met my hair. And it never, not once has it happened. What ends up happening is they try and then they put the little paper. For those who know, you put the paper with the, or you use like the mousse. They will try all kind of edge control. They will try, you put the white paper, you sit under the dryer, they take it off. Everything is laid down. Not a hair out of place. And then I will get home and then I will take a picture of the front of my hair and I will go, I sweated. And now my hair is like, edges look like this. And they go, oh my God, I've never seen that happen. I go, you're welcome.
Now,
I'll just introduce you to something
that
new.
was my hair too. That was my hair too. Like this whole idea that it's gonna lay down and be uniform and all of that. But I mean, I guess because it was really, my hair was really, really thick. It was not always as obvious, but most definitely I can relate to that.
Gotcha. Spirit of the Tree says my hair is naturally curly. It puffs when I brush it. I have to use all kind of relaxers just to not be fun. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. And that's another reason we said, I don't think we said it in this episode, but when we were doing the black hair episode, we were saying that like this, or at least I was telling like Ray that there are other people who may not be black, but who have hair that has similar characteristics of black hair, right? So I completely get that. Like curly hair. Because Sikhs will often ask, well, why can't we use the conga? Like, why can't you just use a wider tooth conga? And I'd be like, because girl, we're not supposed to be combing and brushing our hair every day. That's not how it works. Like brushing and combing your hair, if you have a particular type of hair, it is good for your hair. It is not good for our hair. It's not good for curly hair. It's the opposite. You don't want to be doing it. You really just need to leave it alone. You do what you do. You maybe do your scrunchie, your scrunch it. Do whatever you do, but not brush and comb it. That's a mistake. Don't do that if you got curly hair. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. Finally, I meet another not super dense, like, oh, that didn't sound right. But I was talking about how my hair is not that dense, and Tanya D's clearly gets it. My hair isn't dense either, so I can't rock a fro either. Yeah, my fros they don't look like fros. Like, I start and then it just starts to wilt, and it'd be like, yeah, that's okay. But Tanya D also says I love my hair because it is versatile. It's versatile. Love it. Thank you, Spirit of the Trees, for this beautiful topic. Nissa Howard says I have white girl curly wavy hair, and my younger sister and brother have my dad's curly hair. It's better for my brother to have them than my sister. All of us have issues with snarls. Ooh, I would love to hear more about that. I wish we had seen that earlier in the chat. It's too. I be trying. I want to have a live that is mostly just looking at comments and stuff like that. But like when we're really into the conversation, it's hard for me to manage all that to everything. So, but I wish I had seen that. What is this? Oh, I wear a bun. Oh yeah. I get that. That makes sense. Ooh, this is really cool. Spirit of the Tree says mine gets curlier the older I get. That's pretty cool. I didn't even know that was a thing that was possible, but I love it. I know that the thing when like you stop straightening your hair or you stop relaxing it or whatever, and then your curl pattern starts to come back. I know that that's a thing then, but yeah, mine gets curlier the older I get. Love that. Tanya D says a headband and a puff is my go-to if I don't have it crocheted, or if I don't have crochet in. Yeah. And crochet, y'all, when she's saying crochet, she means hair. Like, we don't talk about it. And I'm saying this not because I think anybody here is like dumb or ignorant. I'm not saying that. I'm just being careful because I said this before and not explained, and people were like, what do you mean? Like, because they're thinking like crochet, that you just crochet, which is yes, but it's hair that's crocheted. It's not, people are not putting blankets in their hair, is what I'm saying. They're not putting clothing and fat, like yarn in that. Okay, never mind. Hopefully you get what I'm saying. Let's see. Me and my youngest son learned that once we wash it, we have to let it dry without brushing, or it's completely unmanageable. His hair is curly too. Yes, that is exactly what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to brush your hair. In fact, the only time I brush my hair when I don't have locks is if I'm in the shower or if it's wet, like as water is running over it, because that's how I actually detangle my hair, is by letting water run through it, and then I will brush it with a Denman brush, and that's good to go. If I do that when it's not wet, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's just frizzy for days. It's a mess. It's a mess. Yeah, see, this what Kimmy says. Mine gets frizzier. Exactly. That's what happens. If I brush it when it's dry, it just gets frizzy. It just looks a mess. I had perfect Shirley Temple ringlets when I was little, and when I asked my mom how she did it, she said, I don't know, we bathed you every once. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. I'm sorry. If anybody's listening on headphones, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to laugh into the mic like that. I just was not expecting it. I apologize. I wasn't expecting the last sentence. I don't know. We bathe you every once in a while. Is the most hilarious, realest response in the world. Like, not just response, but like that's real. That's like, we don't have a clue what to do. Okay, this one doesn't get a bath every day. We don't know. That's real. That's real as hell. That's some parenting stuff. That's also some not only child stuff. If I as an only child, that's things that happens when there's multiple children in the house and the parents are like, that's all I got, That's hilarious, Kimmy. Thank you for that. Thank you for that laugh. I almost blew snot out my nose. That's why I was. Anyways, let's see. That's what I did. My quarantine. That's what I did. My quarantine skill was learning to crochet my own hair. Love it. Love it. A lot of people learned a lot of new skills during quarantine. And I find it interesting because so many people's lives were so different during quarantine. And something that I have always said is that, my life didn't look any different during quarantine, which is just related to me having my chronic illness, right? Like even mask wearing, I already wore masks in large public spaces because of my immune system was already immunocompromised. So that wasn't really new. I mean, it was new wearing it a lot more. And now I wear it all the time. But like the thing that quarantine did was sort of give everybody else sort of a glimpse into the lives of people with chronic illnesses who are immunocompromised and like how we have to be careful all the time and like be mindful. And I just that's what I found. Just hearing people speak about their own experiences, I just kept in my head being like, welcome to my life, and not in like a bad way, not in a resentful way, just in a like, I really hate that so many other people have to deal with this because it's not fun, right? And I think it also gave a lot of people empathy and understanding and insight in a way they would not have otherwise had. So, I guess it's just me sort of seeing like the bright side of it. Oh, this happened to me too. Wait, where is this? Wait. I just had it. Who said this? Nissa Howard says, my mom would put hot oil in my hair. Yes, I used to get hot oil treatments as
Me
well.
too.
You get hot oil and then you would put like this heater thing. It was almost like a cap that was like a heating pad type thing, and you plug it in and it heats up. Hot oil treatments. Yeah, love them. I mean, I didn't then, but they're good. They're really good for your hair. Let's see what else we got. The world's idea of success for the Black race is should I be pre-screening these comments? Hold on. Oh, okay. I was like, where is this going? The young legend says the world's idea of success for for the Black race, I'm gonna say Black people, is to bleach our skin and cut off our hair. Some kids are disqualified from sports or suspended from school due to certain Black hairstyles deemed offensive. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. They won't get that, so their idea of success is just gonna have to it's gonna have to adjust. Because let me tell you, not only am I not bleaching my skin, but I used to tan. I used to wish I had more melanin than I did. And y'all are probably looking at me like, what? That's weird. That's because you haven't seen the parts under my clothes. I look like 3 different people. Love locks have brought me so much. What is this? Okay, so Must Love Fiction says love locks have brought me so much freedom and enjoyment of my hair. Yeah, I do. I love locks. I also have some pretty strong feelings and beliefs about locks that I won't get into tonight. But yeah, I will say I love locks. And anybody thinking that the Vikings had locks at some point, you're wrong. And you should go look at Snappy Dragon's video on this. If you want a video about locks, Snappy Dragon does like makes clothes, does some stuff, but is a content creator from the Bay Area, or at least living in the Bay Area, that has a video about locks, about white people in locks, about Vikings in locks, about beliefs around locks. And it is really well done, really well researched, really well cited in terms of sources. And I would just really encourage you to check that out. Snappy Dragon on YouTube. One of my favorite videos of all time. And it's always my go-to video when I hear Vikings had locks, though. That's why white people should have locks. Snappy Dragon sort of opens with, you're wrong. Okay. Anyways. Recently tuned in, so not sure if interviewing was mentioned in relation to Black hair, but I personally have had very different results interviewing my hair with straight versus natural. That's something I thought about, but we didn't even get into. And again, this is one of those things where I wish we had, I wish I had seen this during the live, because yes. Now, and I'm saying yes because I would love to know more, because my hair's only pretty much been natural. So the only time I had a relaxer was when I was in like junior high, right? And that's when I discovered, oh, my hair is not that thick, and so I look really weird, or I didn't think I looked very good. So I never had a chance to like interview or apply or be out in the real world on my own trying to navigate life with straight hair. So I don't really know. I don't have the difference. I only know life with natural hair, and I would love to hear some experiences about that from a Black woman. That would be amazing.
I can say that for me, I remember one of the last jobs before I was in the military was when I worked in banking in a fraud department for one of the major banks. And I remember going for the interview, and I intentionally, before I did anything, I went in and I had cut my hair off and everything. I went in and interviewed, dressed up and stuff like that. And like I said, I do say that, hey, I'm interviewing you too. But I had been told growing up, you put your best foot forward and everything else like that. So I cut off all my hair. And one of the things I saw after I got the job, I go in there and I'm like, okay, I can look around, see what the environment's like. I seen people with their hair and how it was working for them, and I was like, all right, bet I can grow out my locks. That's when I started growing my hair. I said all that to say though that a person shouldn't have to do that though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree on that. Spirit of the Tree says same. I used to never have to think about my hair, but did finally find a great shampoo bar, not in a bottle. If you so there's a company that I want to try because it's a black owned company. Their stuff is kind of pricey, which I actually completely understand why it's priced the way it's priced. That's why I'm not saying it's too expensive or it's just it's not that it's not afford like I could buy it, but then like if I like it, am I going to keep paying this amount for a shampoo bar? And I don't know if the answer is yes, but I do want to try it. And I also do want to find a shampoo bar that in general, like I would love that because I actually think that that would be like even like more economical because when it comes to locks, oh, you got to use so much shampoo if you're washing your own hair, which is again why I don't like doing it. But Spirit of the Trees, I don't know if you're still here or if you ever see this, but I would love to know what you use because I don't want to go through the process. Like a lot of black women have done that where they've tried like every product. No, man, I'm not doing that because I don't have the time. It's not even about money. I don't have the time. No, I don't have the desire. Let me be clear. I'm sure I have the time. I don't have the desire. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be clear. Especially now that I have a pick line. I'm not doing it. So that's that.
All right. Before 2020, used to love attending Black Hair Expos. Always received great tips and advice on how to maintain different hairstyles. I didn't know that was a thing. I don't think I've ever been to one. I've never been to one. As much as I love doing a lot of fun stuff thing with my hair, I had no clue.
You didn't,
Nope.
Oh my God, I can't even speak. I'm stuttering because I'm surprised and I don't know what to say. My brain is doing like, just like when I found out you're not actually a medical doctor, but you're still a medical doctor in my mind. Okay, we'll have to talk about that. I didn't know that. Oh, I got so much to tell. Not even never mind, forget it, because we're gonna be here forever. Because I'm just shocked. But hair expos were a thing, and they are. I don't know if they're still a thing, but I would imagine they didn't stop until the 2020, and I just don't know if they've come back or not. But yeah, hair expos are wow. Okay.
I've since cut off my hair, got rid of the braids, and oftentimes my afro. Now I rock a bald head and beard. Hell yeah, bald head gang. All right. I'm sure Ray can attest to trying to follow up with the VA and how exhausting that is. A lot of my veteran clients have to deal with that all the time. So I don't have to deal with them just yet because I'm currently active duty, but my spouse is a veteran. And yeah, my spouse has to deal with quite a bit of jumping through hoops and a lot of following up, a lot more, sir, than you probably should have to for your healthcare. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah, I've heard so much about that, and I find Governor Newsom's new ad about taking care of veterans and all this baloney and blah 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 really funny and self-serving and foolish. But anyways, yeah, I think who was that? Nissa Howard. I think you're absolutely right. It's an issue.
The thought that a doctor had to research sickle cell after everything the Black community went through with the government is horrifying. That was my exact thoughts when you told me that. I was like, bro, I don't need you to be an expert on it, but how have you? What? You blew my mind when you said that.
Would you like to guess the racial identity or ethnic origin or whatever of the doctor who had no idea what sickle cell was, proceeded to leave the room and came back with a book and looked up sickle cell in front of my mom and I, because this was not before the internet, but it was before you had like a smartphone in your hand, you had like all the information at your hand. So he went and got a medical book and came back into the room and researched it in front of us. Would you like to guess his background?
He was white.
He wasn't.
What?
I think the story would have been a little bit easier if he was.
It was a brother.
It was a brother. We was in DC and we were at Howard University's medical center.
Damn.
I need to emphasize Howard University's medical center. And that's why I'm not going to get into that topic right now, because if I start, I won't be able to stop. And so we're just going to move on for now. We will discuss this at another date. But yeah, if y'all don't know why that's wild,
we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
I'm gonna tell you in a second why that's wild. But Ray, go to the next question while I get this thing. Okay. Go to the next comment.
They removed voting rights in Roe v. Wade. Our civil rights are in danger. I didn't know that anything was associated there. I'll probably have to look into what they're referring to specifically there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what they mean. Like, I feel like I have an idea what they mean, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I do think our civil rights are in danger because I think people don't realize. I think it's really funny because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just this one thing, but that's not how it works. That's not, history tells us that's not how it works. That this is just the beginning. So that's that. Israel is a leader in tech. Not yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's all good. We gonna. Like I said, our liberation is tied to Philistine's liberation in the Congo and Sudan and Tigray and everybody. It's okay. We're not gonna stop fighting until everybody is free. That's what we mean. Oh, real quick. So for those of you who don't know why it's real wild that at the very least a Black doctor wouldn't know about sickle cell, would have never heard about it, even if medical schools weren't teaching about it, even though medical schools should at the very least be teaching about it. This right here is all I'm going to say for now. It is a book called, I don't know if it shows it backwards, but it's a book called Body and Soul. It's by Alondra Nelson, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Alondra Nelson. This right here is, it's one of my favorite images. You can't actually see it on here, but right here it says Fight Sickle Cell, which is what I named my nonprofit after, Fight Sickle Cell. And this is a Black Panther booth setup thing where you could go and get tested to see if you had the trait, because what happened was, because nobody really knew about it or had the trait, like my mom had no idea she had the trait. My biological father had no idea he had the trait, was also in denial, but he was a weirdo. They had no idea that there was even a chance that I could have the disease until my mom was already pregnant, took a blood test, and they said, hey, you have the trait. We should test your husband. And then he was like, no, it's not possible. I don't have it. And then they were like, you do. And then so they were like, well, there's a large chance, do you want to abort? And my mom was like, no. So then here I am with the disease because there was a 25% chance that I would have it. And so you can't avoid it if you don't know that you have the trait. And so the Black Panthers were really working to get people tested to find out who has the trait and who doesn't, because you can at least plan better if you know you and your spouse both have the trait, and that there's a chance that you might have a child with this which at the time was a very deadly disease. Even when I was born, there was a very short life expectancy, and you can't do anything about that if you don't know. And so the Black Panthers really did a lot to try to bring awareness to that. And the U.S. government at every turn tried to stop them from doing such a thing. And this book, Medical Apartheid, talks about that. So if you're not familiar with medical apartheid, this is by Harriet A. Washington. It talks a little bit about that, but also about the ways in which, despite being the most common genetic illness, they have not cared. If you want to know why we don't have universal health care, it's because they didn't want free slaves to have free healthcare. So again, voting against their own best interest just to spite us. But anyways, Howard University, for those who don't know, that is an HBCU, as an historically Black college university. And you would think that of all the schools that should know about this illness that affects over 90% of Black people, it would be Howard. No, they didn't know. Anyways, next person. Chatel Singh 84 says, I am Sikh from Punjab. I think that was, I think that was us asking where everybody's from, or maybe they started watching late. Maybe they were answering that question. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Dry brushing isn't healthy for your hair. Brushing while cold rinsing is the best. Yes, that is true. That is true for our hair type. Yes, that is. There's no really piece of advice that is universal for all hair types. That's kind of the thing about it. When people say this works for all hair types, they're lying. But yes, that is for sure true for our hair. What is this? I'll read it. Coconut is my favorite product. It heals my hair. And then last one. I'm sick with the knowledge that you were at Howard and were examined by a Black doctor who had to look up sickle cell. I'm wrecked. Oh, just wait till you hear the full story. Anyways, I'll tell it another time. I was actually in DC to present some research that I helped with. I was in high school. I was in DC to present some research at the National Sickle Cell Conference. So we were there in town for the National Sickle Cell Conference. It was just kind of wild. And it really lucked out because my pediatric hematologist was also there at the conference. And so he basically just treated me in my hotel room. My mom, he heard what happened. He told my mom, he was like, just come back to the hotel. Like, I got it. Like, I'll figure it out. But that was really pretty ridiculous. Just me MD says, come so far, but still so far to go. And you know what? That's how I look at it. I'd be like, you know what? Because every time I'd be like, it feels like we made no progress. Like, what is going on? It feels like that all the time. But it is important to remember, like, yeah, we've come a long way, right? Like, and I have a shirt and a hoodie that says I'm about making my ancestors proud, and that continues to be my why, right? To make sure that the efforts of my ancestors are not in vain. They're not wasted. You know what I'm saying? Not wasted on me or anybody else. And so, yeah, I love that. Just me and D. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we got this giveaway. So You need to be subscribed. So but you also need to be watching the stream. So let me see. Who we got? Let me see if there's a way. All right. So if you're watching the if you're watching the live right now, drop a comment so I know. We're gonna choose one. Ray, you choose a. We were gonna have Bree do this, but we got to talk it and then didn't stop to do the giveaway. So, Ray, if you're watching right now, drop a comment. It doesn't matter what you comment. Comment hair or comment your favorite color or where you're from. It doesn't matter. Actually, that would be cool. Comment your favorite color. Just drop a comment, and we're gonna choose a comment very randomly, and that will be. If we choose you, then we will ask you to contact us either by email or on IG. Yeah, by email or on IG. You can DM us on Instagram, or you can send us an email. All of our handle and username and Gmail account is the same, Black X Sikh, and we will get in contact with you so you can choose your prize. Once again, we've got a number of items from Yeah Silver, our sponsor for this stream. These are actually really cool. Y'all lucky I'm not shady, because I just be like, you know what? We only got 5 things to give away, because I'm gonna keep these 3. I'm not gonna do that. We actually did get 8 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so we got 2 sets and a number of earrings, and again, we have some electronics. All right, so if you haven't already, drop a comment and we will choose somebody randomly. You can just drop yellow. You can drop your favorite color. I don't know why I said yellow. Just drop your favorite color. We'll choose somebody. Ray, you choose one person. I'm gonna choose one person. Let me see. I'm gonna look on Instagram too. We actually have a number of giveaways, and we wanted to give away a few tonight. So let's see. I don't know why Instagram is wilding for me. It just like shut off. I haven't been able to see any of the comment. Okay, so it says something went wrong. So let me see if I can pull it up. Did you choose somebody?
I did.
All right. I think we're gonna choose more than one. I think I might have you choose another one in a second. Let me just see. Oh, something happened. We suspect automated behavior on your account. We have temporarily suspended your account. That might be why I couldn't see Instagram. I was like, where did Instagram go? That was just wild. Okay, so we are not live on Instagram anymore. I don't know what happened, but we'll figure that out later. Also, there's a few people I wanted to shout out. One is Ugly Ass Tees, which sounds weird, but it is a Memphis slang term. I love their stuff. You can go to, I think it's uglyasstees.com, and you should check out their stuff. Let me see. All right, I picked a person. You picked a person. All right, I'm gonna just scroll. I'm gonna pick one more person. I'm gonna just scroll, and just whoever I click on is who I click on. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna look. All right, whoever I click on is who I click on. All right, who we got? Who do we get? Was it? Oh yeah. Your Kimmy pulled up their Instagram account. I love their stuff. As somebody who has had to design merch in the past and like do like different designs, I had to like message him and be like, your stuff makes me crack up. It is hilarious. If you're familiar with Memphis slang or like regional slang and how it's different in different regions, regional slang is like one of my favorite things to study. When I was in the Northeast, I was in Delaware. They use John a lot, Jawn, hilarious. I think they use Junt in Memphis, Junt. They also say stuff like Uglass. They also say stuff like Maine. It is hilarious, and y'all should go to their site and check out some of their stuff. They have like Memphis versus Y'all Uglass. I want one. I don't know what city I would get. I'd probably get like the Bay Area versus Y'all Uglass because I'm not from like a specific city in the Bay. So that's my goal. Yeah, like look at that. That is hilarious to me. I crack up every time I have to type it. Every time I have to say it. There's another small business that we wanted to highlight. And now, see, I can't even pull up these things because I can't get back to our thing. Okay, so we showed Bent Artists, Uglass Tees, and I think I'm gonna save the rest for another time.
Was this your first selection that's on the screen right now?
Yeah, who is it? I just clicked, my bad. Where is it? Oh. You know how like the comment goes across the screen? So I just looked at the thing and I just saw blue and I was like, where did it go? Tanya D, blue. It's not my favorite color, but I do like navy blue. Okay, so that's the other one. Did you choose another person, Ray?
I hadn't showed my first one yet.
I thought it was Prub. It wasn't Prub?
I starred everybody so that we could get to them so we can get to them in one row.
Oh no, you didn't need to do that because you just have to go to the live part.
Okay.
So you don't actually need to star them at all.
Cool.
All right. So probably we'll let you do it because I said it. I didn't mean to. I thought that's who we chose. So did you already? Yes.
Yeah,
okay. So
that works.
You want to choose another one?
Okay.
Oh, Tanya D says I love their stuff. Yeah, I love Uglass Tees. I love their stuff. It feels weird to say because I don't like that. No, that's not how I normally speak. But yeah, choose one more, Ray. However you want to choose. Just scroll through and pick somebody randomly. Oh, Nissa Howard says in Massachusetts we use wicked a lot. Really? I didn't know that. Wicked. Okay, like I'm imagining like as an adjective, right? Like as a descriptor or as an adjective, or is it like yeah, I guess I don't know how else you would use wicked. That's really cool. I love to hear that. Anybody else got like regional slang or slang specific to your region? I love learning about regionally specific slang. Also, for those who don't know, I'm a logophile. I'm a linguistics nerd, so I love all things language and slang and whatever. And so, if there are any others, please tell me. Wicked. Now I know. Oh, it's wicked big. Oh, I get it. Okay. I get it. I love that. Did you choose another one, Ray? Is this your second choice?
Yep, that's upside down.
Okay, let me write this down. Sorry. If y'all don't know already, I make weird noises.
Did anyone say your favorite color?
Prob did.
Okay, because I kind of want to also, if I can do a third one, I do want to give the person I want to pick the person that said my favorite color too.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so
I thought we should have just done it. Name a color, but I don't know if that would have been fair because no, actually, maybe nobody knows my favorite color. I don't know.
So this is my favorite color. There we go.
Okay, so we got Nissa Howard, and we got Tanya D. And why is this coming up with? Okay, Tanya D. We got Prub. And you know what? I'm gonna do a trivia question. And there are two possible answers to this. When was Black and Sikh started? When did we first launch? And there's a reason that there's two answers. It's not necessarily a trick question, but there's a reason that there are two possible answers, and I will take either one. And I'm gonna do it like this. If anybody can get that trivia question in the next 60 seconds, I will actually give you two prizes because we have multiple. So we got Nissa Howard. And who else did I miss? Prub. We got Nissa Howard, Tanya D, Prub. Did I miss somebody? I feel like I missed somebody. Upside down.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's the last thing before we get out of here. So if anybody can answer that question before we get out of here, then that's what we'll do. Ray, thank you so much for being here today, for your input, for your contribution to this live stream, to this conversation. You know, I could talk about Black hair with you anytime, all day long. And I will say, you know, I'm looking for, just so those of you know, I'm looking for not necessarily a year, but at least the month, the correct month, either the correct month and year or the month and date, even if you don't have the correct year. And again, there are two possible answers, but I'm not looking for a year. I'm looking for a month and a date, or month and year, not just a year by itself. And again, there are two possible answers. But yeah, right. I've learned so much about myself, about Black hair, about culture. And I have done that, you know, in conversation with you, and I appreciate you, you know, listening and allowing me to process out loud and, you know, bouncing ideas off of you and sort of going through this journey of self-discovery. I really appreciate it. And I'm grateful that I've gone through it with you. And I had a great time today, having this conversation with Bree. I really enjoyed it.
Y'all better answer this question. Y'all gonna let Kimmy come snatch up y'all prize.
I'm gonna say, so Kimmy says, I assume I am ineligible. Yeah, you're ineligible, Kimmy. But if we don't get an answer here soon, you can tell the correct answer to the people. Let's see. This is how I said greens are out. Prub said 2021. 2021. So 2021 is the correct year for one of the answers, but that's not enough. Somebody said 2019. Nope, that is not correct at all. Somebody else said 2019. Nope. August 2019. Nope. August 2021. Nope. Y'all are actually really close, but no. June 9th. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna put it like this. One of the dates is also a significant date in US history, and that may or may not be why that date was chosen as a sort of, we were being facetious. The team that was doing Black and Sikh at the time, we were sort of being so facetious. And once you hear the date, I think you will know why. But that's the clue I will give about that. One of the dates is significant in US history. It's significant to the US. The other is significant to me, but is mostly a coincidence, and a coincidence that I wish was not there because it impacted my life in ways I would rather it not have. But okay, anything else? Nope. June 19th. No. Somebody said we finally have a response. Jazzy G says September 11th, 2021. That is the correct date. That is the first date that we launched, and we had every intention of continuing that date, but then life started lifing and got in the way, and we looked up and it was 2 years later. And so yes, September 11th, 2021 is the first one. And yep, Tanya D got it too. Not trying to win, but 9/11. Yes. And if you guys know anything, you know that 9/11, the people who are often most impacted by discrimination, vitriol, the hate that comes with 9/11 is usually Punjabi Sikh men, and often is because people mistake them for Muslims. And our religion, our faith practice tells us we're not supposed to just be like correcting people and say, hey, I'm not Muslim, don't attack me. You say, okay, whatever, you're ignorant. I'm gonna take this because it's my job to advocate and defend, and whatever. You shouldn't be trying to harm Muslims anyway, so I'm not gonna correct you, but that is what it is. But yes, that is why we decided to do it on September 11th as a sort of like, I don't want to say like an FU, but we see you. You're gonna stop fucking with our brothers though. Like, you're gonna stop fucking with us. That was kind of what that is. So yeah, I don't think anybody would probably get the second date. I mean, you could, because you could have just gone to our Instagram and looked at the very first post that we posted. Because I think I made the one from 9/11 hidden, or it might still be there too. But you could have, but it's okay. We still have a couple more prizes. We'll save them for another stream. Jazzy G, reach out to us. Nissa Howard, Tanya D, Prub, Upside Down, reach out to us. Either send us an email or shoot us an Instagram DM. If you know me outside of those two platforms, I'm going to ask kindly that you still either email or send it to an Instagram DM, because we have a process here on the team, and we don't all do the same things. We all have different roles and do different things. And so please still email or DM, and you can choose your prize. And again, I will just do first come, first serve, and I will tell you all the prize options, and you can choose whatever one you want. Jazzy G, you can choose two. That's it. Anything else, Ray? Otherwise, we're out of here. Oh,
I think this will be the last one, but I definitely would like to read that one.
And yeah, I was going to too. Yeah, I agree.
It's not just a Sikh. Hispanic man after 9/11 was beat up by my high school classmate. Yeah, they pretty much decided if anyone at that period in time it became dangerous for anyone. If you even looked like you could potentially you were brown peered or anything darker than brown or darker.
I kind of want to push back on that, because we do have like some reports and some studies, and so it's not the case that anybody who was brown, because Black people were not typically impacted by that, right?
Oh yeah.
And there are a lot of like so it usually is a combination of things, right? It's usually a combination of brown skin, beard, and turban. That's not only
that was the big thing.
Right. That was the big thing. The turban was the big thing. So Nissa Howard is absolutely right in that it is not just Sikhs. It's not only Sikhs. There were also some Muslims, but the problem is when it comes to Muslim men, you can't always identify them unless they're wearing what's it called, unless they're wearing like the headpiece or whatever. And then like with Muslim women, with the hijab or whatever. But it was, for the most part, and again, we know hate what's it called, hate crimes and stuff. Those reports and statistics are not always 100% accurate, and yet we know based on like interviews and interviewing different demographics and studies and research that most of the people who were impacted were Sikh men and Muslim women, and that's because Americans are dumb. I mean, I'm sorry, that's because
no, you said it right.
We don't have a great education system here in the U.S., and so people assume that those are what Muslims look like, and and decided that because they're hateful, they're going to go out and punish people who have nothing to do with this. And so that's that on that. But Nissa Howard, thank you for that, because you're absolutely right. And I think it's important to, I think it's just important to state that. Okay. Let's see. I don't know what I found. I don't know what that is. Kimmy, sorry. I'm having a slow moment. I'm not exactly sure what screenshot you're talking about. And I didn't want to like send the message and delay this thing. Words don't do justice. Words don't do justice for how disgusting people can be. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you know? Okay.
Oh, that. Yes, I remember we did want to finish that.
Oh, yeah. This is what I was talking about earlier when we were saying welcome to Black and Sick to Courtney Core. I didn't put the thing on the page because she didn't like give us permission, and I didn't know like if her her Instagram account is public, and so we don't have that many people here now, and so I will make sure it's okay for us to include her Instagram handle and stuff before we like leave it out there. So, but yeah, she says, so glad I found this page. I've been looking to connect with other African Americans who are practicing Sikhi. I've been Sikh since 2014. Yeah, that was the one that I said, oh, she's been practicing longer than me. I need to go ask her some questions. Yeah, I love that. All right. What does it say? Please send my prize to Kimmy Locker. She does so much for everyone. Hey, if you're serious, I can do that. I can absolutely do that. Good looking out, and I really appreciate that. All right, we're out of here, y'all. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate you coming through. Apologies that Instagram is wilding out. It just logged me out too. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. If you can on this live, leave a comment. What do you want to comment? Comment curly hair. Just do that. Leave a comment curly hair. Help us out in the algorithm. We really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody for being here. Thank y'all. Peace, y'all.
I can't hear you, and the stream's still going.